Hello everyone, and welcome to Fleet's Random Rambling 70. Yes, 70. We are only 30 ramblings away from 100. It is honestly an amazing feeling, and I couldn't have gotten here without all of you. The Patreon supporters, the viewers. Ramblings is as much your show as it is mine, and I don't think I thank you all enough. Those of you who watch in the Discord, in Drax server, those of you who watch on YouTube, those of you who come from Twitter and other places. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me that you all do come. Every single week. And again, I will never not be grateful for that. So, as I promised in Brew Ships yesterday, we will be obviously testing Powder Monkey today to hopefully see if it works. So we'll have a period where those tests are ongoing. So you'll have to give me a minute. While I'm just doing this, so unless I'm very much mistaken. So if I give it a minute. So let me so we're gonna have to wait a little bit. So obviously, while I'm just gonna get everything set up in the other Discord, give a Powder Monkey a minute to embed, and we shall see if that all works as it should. So you'll have to give me a minute while I'm just doing a little bit of technical tweaking. But that shouldn't take me too long to do. I've just got to fiddle around with it. I think everything is as it should be, provided that I use the correct commands in the correct way. So I've got to first test that it's actually working. So let me just see if that brings back the response I am expecting. Okay, so Powder Monkey is active. So let me just do this. See, check if it works.
See, Lawson, you're not meant to say that he's there, because then you can wait for Fleet to trip up and then have him jump in to say, well, actually...
Well, no, I know Dr. Clock is right there. I can see him. He's sat right there. I saw him the moment I came in. So let me just check my server real quick. Powder Monkey is working. Powder Monkey is functional. So we actually have Powder Monkey working for the first time. Everything should be fine. So any of you who ask questions on YouTube, those will now be stockpiled in the stream Q&A log. Don't go asking hundreds of questions, though, please, one after the other. Just keep it measured. Let's not go running away with things, shall we?
You know, Knight, this almost feels targeted, doesn't it?
I wonder why.
But how does it feel, Turds, to apparently have had the devil try and buy your soul?
No, Knight, version is only something I can use. It tells me if the bot's working. It's not something you can use.
If it rewards my wallet, it will feel good.
I see.
Like version is a command I use. It's something that tells me if Powder Monkey is working. It's not something anybody can use. The command you can all use is ! Question. Same as it is on Brew Ships. Right, so, I think I need Dr. Clark. I've invited him up to speak. I need Dr. Clark for Timu's question. He said it was a full panel question. Let's see how many we actually have. So where are we? Community. Let's
Yeah,
see.
so I wasn't able to be around earlier. usually I just do some stuff.
So Timu. So we need myself, Dr. Clark, Dragon, and Foxo.
Foxer could be a while, because last I heard she's still on the way home.
Ay, ay, ay. Brandon Larson once again asking the big questions, also for the panel.
Hmm.
Namely, Dr. Clark and Co. Comrade, you are a Soviet fleet commander in charge of one Kirov-class missile cruiser, one Slava-class missile cruiser, one Kara-class cruiser, 3 Sovereign-class destroyers, 3 Udaloy-class anti-submarine destroyers, 8 Klivat-class frigates, and 6 Victor III-class nuclear submarines. You are tasked with clearing the Baltic Sea of capitalist NATO dogs in a Cold War gone hot scenario that is being fought conventionally. What is your strategy for going about the mission?
Good luck.
No, simply put, sail west and sweep all before me. Because, to be bluntly put, that force is just overmatch. Complete, total overmatch for the Baltic. That is a force to annihilate the Federal German Democratic Navy, obliterate the Danish fleet, shatter the Norwegian Navy.
NATO Air Force would like a word with you, and even better yet, the
Um,
various other nations' coastal batteries would like a word.
it's the Dragon. It's the Cold War gone hot. I think, to be blunt, NATO's air power will be tangling with frontline aviation over Germany, with both sides trying desperately to retain control of the skies.
No, not all of it will be.
Most of it will
It'd be complete folly for NATO
Hello.
to send that much of its air force to solely over East Germany.
Well, the thing is, Dragon, without air supremacy, whoever has air supremacy dictates the way the ground battle goes. So both sides have to maintain air parity, and if one side looks like it's gonna gain air supremacy, the other side will funnel in more equipment. So the other side will funnel in more equipment. This is the thing. The reason that everyone predicted that the air war over Germany was going to snowball and snowball incredibly rapidly. Either one side was going to achieve dominance and just keep it, or it was going to snowball into a strategic level air engagement the likes of which the world had never seen. Now, if one side has won, then yes, there is NATO air power to consider. But honestly, I could clear the Baltic with 6 Victor IIIs. Give me 6 Victor IIIs. I can sweep the Baltic of NATO surface and subsurface assets pretty well. If you give me everything else that's come down, which is the Kirov, the Slava, the Kara class cruiser, the 3 Sovremenis, the 3 Udaloys, the 8 Krivaks, on top of the 6 Victor IIIs. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a force that I'm just going to sweep across through the Baltic. That's overmatched. It's actually, to be blunt, it's overkill. And I'm seriously questioning what idiot in the Politburo decided to take some of the Northern Fleet's most important assets away from it during a conventional hot war with NATO, when we should be defending our bastions. Why are these forces here? Why on earth am I not up in the north defending the important things? Why am I piddling about in the Baltic when, to be blunt, the Baltic doesn't fundamentally matter? Neither side uses it for much operationally, apart from some landings in the opening crucial days of the war planned by the Russians. And then it's a land campaign. That's my biggest question. Why the heck am I here? Why have I got such an overwhelming amount of force? And what's NATO doing in the northern oceans, the North Sea, and the Atlantic? Well, not the Atlantic so much, but the GI-UK gap. When I'm not there. Well, the Soviet Politburo being funny is probably going to lose us our boomers, to be blunt. That's the long and the short of it. Like I say, I could quite easily sweep the Baltic with that force. That is a force to just, especially given the fact that this is the Cold War and most of the Baltic up to the border with West Germany is under the control of the Russian
Why do you set so much force in the Baltic, though? And also, why do you need 6 Victor IIIs to do that job?
I know.
If you've got such superiority, why do you need 6 Victor IIIs to?
I know.
But two
I
questions.
don't understand why there's this massive force there. Like, again, that was my first question. Why is there such a massive force in the Baltic? It
I'm
shouldn't
just
be
finishing
there.
cooking my dinner. But I did also want to point out that Dragon, are you listening? Because this is a rather special occasion. Because you see, under the rules of the Bro Code and male short-term, nicknames that we give each other, if Fleet is on time for the next Armchair Admirals, which is not this Friday but next Friday, there's only today, the next Brew Ships, and the next Ramblings that we can call him Boop anymore.
Why?
Because that's the rule of those nicknames. Basically, if you're late once and you get the nickname Boop, it lasts until the next time, and if you're on time, it's okay. If you're late twice, it carries on to the third time. If it's the third time you're late 3 times in a row, you have Boop for life.
Aye.
So theoretically, if you're on time, Boop will only come up for the next 3 episodes. One of Brew Ships, 2 of Ramblings. This one and the next one of Ramblings.
But yeah, honestly, Brandon, just to very, very quickly wrap up on basically just hammer home what I'm saying. With a Kirov, a Slava, a Kara, 3 Sovereign Minis, 3 Udaloys, 8 Krivaks, and 6 Victor 3s, I'm done in about half a week. I'll push.
You've made NATO stay, though, because you're never getting that force out of the Baltic.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's just... But yeah, the war at sea...
You've made my day. As NATO commander, you've made my month, my week, my year. Basically, you've done the whole Friends theme song for me.
Yeah, like, congratulations, we control the Baltic. But what do you mean all of our ballistic missile submarines are dead? These forces should not be here. They should be in the Northern Fleet. Now, admittedly, they can get to the Northern Fleet through the canal system, provided NATO hasn't dropped any bombs on it, but they probably wouldn't. But still, it is a valuable period. No, Brandon, the Norwegian Sea would have been a far better option, because the Baltic... The Russians have no need to put massive forces in the Baltic. They already exert pretty much total sea control over everything east of East Germany, pretty much, in the event of a conventional war. They don't need to put this massive force into the Baltic. It's almost... You've almost committed a war-losing move. You've basically just handed NATO control of the seas. They do not have to bleed to get into the Soviet missile bastions. Well, problem is problem is about the Norwegian Sea. That's an entirely different kettle of fish, and would be a very long-winded question. So I'm sorry to say, but rules are rules. I would put that as your question for next week. Or ask that as a question later on as a normal question in today's Ramblings. So I need to wait for Foxo to get here to answer the question that Timu has, because his question was specifically also for her as well. So we'll have to wait for that one. So... Right, so next question then. So yeah, Brandon Larson, I've asked the question... I'm aware you want to change your question to the Norwegian Sea, but... please ask it again as a separate question, because your question that you asked as your Patreon question, we have answered and said why it works and why it also doesn't work at the same time. So if you could please ask that again as a normal question in today's... So that will obviously be... So again, like I say, ask that question, again today, and I will. And obviously, if we get to it, we get to it. We probably will do though. What is next on the agenda? So I have to go flicking between 2 different. Okay, so I have the live chat open, but I'm not looking. But I'm not getting questions from there. So we'll start with a YouTube question. YouTube question. 1931, what would be a worse place to be in? On Hosh or in the place of the... 1931, what would be the worst place to be? on Hoche or in the place of the Swiss Air First Officer Stefan Lowe in an MD-11 that is on fire with molten metal dripping down into the flight deck, unflyable, and about to crash into the water at 334 miles an hour? First of all, the answer to that question should be fairly obvious. Second of all, it is in very poor taste, in my estimation, to compare serving on a ship that is somewhat ugly to the last moments of real, actual people who suffered a horrific fate that we wouldn't wish on anyone. Please don't ask a question like that again, Knight. That's just in very, very poor taste. Because those aren't hypothetical people you're talking about. Those are real people who really lost their lives. And I don't think it's very funny to ask a question like, what would you rather be? On Hoche, or the last precious moments of a real person staring death in the face knowing they're about to die? I don't find that very funny. And just... So we're going to move on from that question. So next question is, I'm actually going to skip that one and ignore that as a YouTube question. So Stephen Mayer asked, I think the first part of Stephen Mayer's question was missed. Yeah, for some reason, Stephen Mayer, the first part of your question was missed because you put a colon behind Q&A, so the bot didn't pick it up as a command. So remember, question and Q&A needs to be unaltered. If you add a colon at the end of Q&A or question, the bot will not pick up that as a question. So remember, you have to make sure you leave them as separate things. Stephen Mayer, in a Shipgirl alternate history fic I read, the US buys the Congos do the strike, causing delays in build time. Nothing else changes except the Navy putting 8-inch on Lexington and towing Hornet to safety. In a Shipgirl alternate history fic I read, the US buys the Congo Sea to do the strike, causing delays in build time. Nothing else changes in the fic except the Navy not putting 8-inch and towing on the Lexington and towing the Hornet to safety. What does the... What? I don't understand what that question even means. I'm really, really having trouble understanding what that means, Stephen Mayer. Could you please rephrase that? No, Yuki, that is me reading it verbatim. Yuki, that is me reading it verbatim. Why do you think I don't understand it? I don't know what the question is. Yeah, Stephen Mayer, ask that one again, mate, and I'll get back to that when you've rewritten it. So, next question is a Discord question, and thoughts on this? Oh no, that was for Dragon. It wasn't a generic. So, is there a Discord question here? Brandon Larson asks, you are in charge of a Galactic Alliance Defense Force fleet charged with engaging a large Confederation fleet during the Second Galactic Civil War. What do you bring and what is your overall strategy? I am not that familiar with that part of Star Wars lore, but I think Confederation fleet. Probably a good chunk of those weird MC-80 types. The ones where, you know, you have it's a Mon Calamari ship, but someone stuck a giant saw on the front of it and put all of the guns on it. Basically. That's the long and short of it. That would be my thought process there. Given that by the time you get to a Galactic Alliance era, Second Galactic Civil War, from what I can tell, you seem to have from what I know, from a limited bit I remember, there's a limited amount of smaller vessels, and it basically turns into capital ships, a capital ship slugging match, with them also being their own anti-fighter craft because of the way weaponry is advanced, and them also carrying their own fighters. And it's basically just into fighters and capital ships slugging at each other, from what I understand, and from what I remember. But then again, that could be down to the fact that the setting wasn't that developed in terms of ship types. So, I think we got a cruiser-sized Mon Calamari ship, a capital-sized Mon Calamari ship, a cruiser-sized Confederation ship, and a cruiser-sized and a capital ship-sized Confederation ship. And I think that's it. Second Galactic Civil War. Yeah, that would just say bring lots of capital ships would be my thought process for that one. So next one would be a YouTube question. 966831 asks, given Incomparable's huge size, if the RN had an Eagle-style carrier conversion of Incomparable, would that push them towards tricycle undercarriage design sooner? Probably not. The tricycle undercarriage is something that comes about comparatively, as in the mature tricycle undercarriage, as in the retractable tricycle undercarriage, is something that comes about later in aircraft design, especially if you're talking about aircraft landing on a carrier. Simply because it's much easier to have a tail-dragging aircraft land on a carrier, not only because A, it makes the hook far easier to catch the wire, given the aircraft's landing attitude, and it's also much easier to make just a pair of massive shock absorbers for the main wheels that absorb, a pair of smaller shock absorbers for the two main landing legs that absorb all of the impact spread between them fairly evenly, which therefore means that the engineering tolerances aren't as high and it's easier to do. Whereas if you're trying to create a tricycle undercarriage aircraft for carrier landings, given how carrier aircraft land, that's an awful lot of pressure to be putting onto a nose wheel. It is even now. And it took a while for that sort of capability to catch up. So it's not so much that the Royal Navy... It'll definitely push the Royal Navy towards twin-engined aircraft. I think you'll probably see the Royal Navy go, we've got a carrier this big, let's try something funky. And you might see some twin-engine strike aircraft, so perhaps torpedo bombers that have decent range and are fairly stable. But that's probably about it.
I don't know. They could go for a twin-engine fight. They could, if you consider how the Royal Navy like to try and combine things, try to go for a twin-engine fighter, spotter, reconnaissance torpedo.
That would be fairly interesting as a concept, yeah. And then also have
a true multi-role aircraft, because the thing is for the Royal Navy would be the Royal Navy's still going to be dealing, even if they've got larger carriers, with the reality that they're going to be fighting a war on the other side of the world from their infrastructure base.
Yep.
So if they can take out one aircraft type and it can do all those roles,
Yep.
And again, if you consider their fighters, they get quite early on to the idea of zoom and boom fighters. So the high agility single seat fighters are not really there. You know, they're not so worried about it. They're quite happy with a zoom and boom heavy fighter.
Yeah.
And you could configure a twin engine aircraft to do that. And that means you could take out a load of 72 aircraft, which can all do the air defense role, all do the strike role, all do the roles you want them to do, and scare the bejesus out of everyone. Because it's a case of, are we going to be facing you doing a 72 aircraft night strike with the full air suite at long range? Or, hang on, we're now in an air defense mission. Oh, frigate! You've got 72 fighters aboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would obviously.
And yes, they're doing zoom and boom, but in the nicest way, how many of my aircraft are going to get through your fighters continuously doing zoom and boom on the wings coming in? The heavy AA air thing, it's going to be single aircraft attacks all the way, at which point your ships close in and medium range AA can deal with them.
I mean,
Make a
absolutely.
story you say about navalized mosquitoes. They kind of existed in the Sea Hornet.
Yeah. Seahorn.
Yeah, well, that's basically what you probably get. And
Yeah.
what was the Sea Hornet able to do? It was able to do strike, and it was able to do.
Although
So,
it did take Hornet to do it because they basically looked at Mosquito and said, "This is a fantastic idea, but we want to tweak it a little bit." And so
Mosquito could have.
Mainly, it's the in nicest way. As much as we love the Mosquito, its airframe and saltwater are not a good combination.
And also, as Eric Winkle Brown said when he was tasked with landing the Mosquito on a carrier, your margin for error was basically none. He basically had to hang the Mosquito on its engines and drop it onto the deck, which is not really a sustainable way to conduct carrier operations with an aircraft. There's a reason why the Hornet is so aggressively overpowered in terms of being over-engined. What it is.
What are you talking about?
The Hornet is...
The Hornet has
The Hornet has a ridiculous level of
similar
acceleration.
level, but the power plants are incredibly similar. They're
Yes.
practically the same Merlin,
Oh, yeah.
depending on which variant of mosquito you go off.
No, that's
They're
true. No, but if
they
you
have-
look, but if you look at the Hornet, and if you look at the comparison between how much a Hornet weighs and how big a Hornet is, compared to how much a Mosquito weighs and how big a Mosquito is, there is a great deal of difference. It's the reason why the Hornet goes like the clappers, even compared to a Mosquito. The Hornet just up and goes like the clappers. It's aggressively silly.
Don't entirely agree there, but it is indeed smaller and a bit lighter, but it's not
This was all part of the...
that much appreciably.
No, it makes a massive difference. It was part of the whole thing. Like when they went to Eric Brown and said, "Okay, you've landed a Mosquito. What do you think?" He said, "That was bloody insane. Make the damn thing smaller and make sure it weighs less." All praise be to Eric Winkle Brown, absolute legend. Good thing he lived as long as he did. He got to pass on all of his stories. Like, go look him up if you haven't. If you have no idea who he is, like, seriously, can heartily recommend. There's like a bunch of the talks he gave are on YouTube. Like, seriously, just a fantastic guy. Flew about what was it? I think it was 250 different types of individual aircraft. Okay. Where are we? So that would be a... so that was a... Yeah, that was a YouTube question, which is now in my Discord, so it's technically a Fleet Devotions Discord. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So next one is Lazy Author. If by 1936 jet technology has already... Didn't we do this one on Friday?
Note what they explicitly said.
I already asked this question, but I want to hear Dr. Clark's opinion on it. Okay, fair enough. If by 1936, jet technology has already advanced to a point that it can be reliably used in combat operations, would that change anything in air and naval air operations, and any other related technology to jets? You might have gas turbine-driven light craft by the outbreak of World War II, an experimental form. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if you did. You're looking at jet aircraft. If we're talking reliable operations, you're talking immediate post-war jet aircraft. So you're talking about the jet aircraft being something that is your single-engined fighter and or high-performance ground attack and strike aircraft. Whether or not they are deployed on carriers will depend entirely on how keen navies are to adopt. Basically, because you would have to drag in the carriers to. Then again, even then, problem with jets is that they.
Please tell me you're not saying that you can't
Wait.
operate jets on a carrier until they've been converted to angled flight deck.
No, it's not angled flight decks that are the problem. The problem is you need.
Need
What?
It depends,
because I'm waiting to shoot this one down.
but it depends. It depends on the jet, doesn't it?
Like, because Fleet. Remember when the first jet landing on a carrier was historically?
Yes, Dragon, will you please stop waiting to jump down my throat and perhaps let me finish before you jump down my throat? It's getting a bit of...
Nah.
No, catapults aren't what's required. The problem is you have to basically totally rework how you manage your air group. Because you need more... You need...
What?
Jets need
Okay,
a... Jet aircraft, if they're taking off from a straight deck carrier, need a much longer takeoff run. If you aren't using
No?
catapults. Yes, they do.
You just have to use catapults.
And not all carriers in the period carry them.
I'm
Which
really
carriers are you
clever.
talking about?
I'm genuinely confused here, Fleet.
In nice way, most carriers were either could be retrofitted or were fitted with catapults of some kind. Fleet, which carriers are you talking about? Because if you want to use them from an escort carrier, no.
Well, no, obviously. you wouldn't
But
use
we're
them.
talking in 1930s. We're talking there are only fleet carriers around.
Yeah, I don't think. Let me think. I don't think. I know all of the British carriers got them. So Ark Royal has them. Furies, Courageous, Glorious have them. So I know they've got them. I think the Yorktown's Ranger doesn't, but you wouldn't probably operate jets from her anyway. I don't think Wasp does. I know Yorktown Enterprise and Hornet do. The Lexingtons do. As for the Japanese carriers, let me think.
If you want them, you can retrofit them with them.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I say, it's going to take some time for that to happen, and I think you're looking at
Yes.
and again, I think you're looking at jets as the fighters primarily for carrier operations, simply down to the fact that for not so much for dive bomber, I can see jets coming in as dive bomber replacements. Or no, actually, no, it wouldn't be. It would be torpedo bombers because if you use the jets to carry torpedo, no, because that takes you close to the water, doesn't it? I was thinking if you try to use them as dive bombers, you're going to be limited in the size of bomb you can carry to external loads only because you try
I've got to tell a load of Buccaneer pilots that as they were flying jets, they couldn't go close to the water.
Well, with early jets,
That's going to be a very interesting conversation.
You're going to have more problems with it. But
Yeah,
it's,
does that mean that they're going to not do it?
Yeah. Remember,
Again,
Fleet.
we're talking about Royal Navy and US Navy pilots. We're talking about men who physically get air sickness as they fly too high.
the problem we're talking is we're pushing a technology far ahead of where it was actually adopted. We're pushing it back by 10 years. And I don't really... It's kind of hard to... You can't just push something back by 10 years and have it just be adopted. It's a bit of a difficult... I'm being very cautious in what I'm actually allowing because you can't just...
I would say the reality is if you're dealing with jets being adopted at that point, part of the adoption is they're not going to be adopted overnight. But the thing is, what are they going to be by 1939? If it's able to be used on land in 1936, 3-4 years later.
Yeah, you're talking about basically the immediate post-war occurring pre-war.
Yes.
And you might even have the new...
And most of the additions which were made for them were, and especially initial places, were not massive new piece of technology. They were mostly adaptations of existing technology, weren't they? Now, the interesting thing is what effect it has on the 1936 London Naval Treaty.
Well, I suppose you... Well, if we give... Well, thing is, the treaties are...
Because the thing is, everyone's going to see the jets coming, and they're going to know it's going to have an effect on aircraft.
It's not...
And as we've talked about before, the biggest driver of aircraft carrier size is the aircraft they're carrying.
Yeah, well, thing is, in this question, the jets aren't coming, they're there. In 36, they're there. They've entered operational service.
Yes, but the trouble is the negotiations, the treaty happens in 36, but how long does the negotiations take?
Till 37, isn't it? Treaty's not signed till the middle of 37, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and negotiations really start in 1935.
Why they... The thing that annoys me is why they even kept going with the treaty as soon as Japan walked out. It should have been very clear that... I know politicians are a bit daft, but invoking the escalator clause isn't really practical when one of the three... If Italy or France had walked out, you could have gone, yeah, okay, invoke the escalator clause. If one of the big three walks out, you'd think at that point you go, yeah, just, why are we still in this?
Basically because they thought they could keep talking. No. Okay, God. Sorry, Poodle needs to go down.
That's fair enough. But yeah, whether or not you see angled flight decks before or during the war is going to depend entirely on how quickly the British get their head together. In fact, I think it's likely that you see the Illustrious laid down as angled deck carriers, simply down to the fact that they will look at... What do you mean,
Well, when are the Illustrious class laid down?
Let me have a look. Let me see if it could actually... April 37. It's possible.
No. There's not going to be enough operation or enough pace of operation or enough aircraft in service for them to work out the angled flight decks as an idea, let alone design it into an aircraft carrier, which has been in the process of designing for the previous 18 months at that point. Implacables, maybe. Illustrious class, no. Indomitable might be.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is Indomitable's ordered July 37, laid down November 37. Given that given that jets are around in 36, you're going to probably have tests of a hypothetical
jet. Yes, but the
air...
angled flight deck doesn't come from testing; it comes from operation.
And
the greater landing speed of the aircraft and the operational considerations. In testing, you'd get a false positive, it'd be still fine.
I was going to get to that, but you jumped in before I could finish. What I was going to say was the operations would also probably be in place by the end of 36. You'd probably have... Because if we're talking about the jet as advanced to the point that it's reliably being used in combat operations by 1936, the Navy's probably already got tenders out as the question starts.
Because you're still talking about the Air Ministry being in charge of the procurement. Inskip Award isn't agreed till 1937, doesn't take finalised till 1939. So the Royal Navy is still procuring through the Air Ministry.
Well, in that case, then I'd argue it's even more likely that the Air Ministry go, what if we, because I'm sure you're aware the Hawker Hind was around at this point, the aircraft that the Air Ministry adapted into so many different forms, it wasn't even funny. You can have a light bomber, you can have a fighter, you can have a naval aircraft. I know,
the Navy managed to pay for them to do it.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is whatever the jet version of the Hawker... Obviously, it won't be a Hawker Hind with a jet engine, but whatever jet aircraft replaces the Hawker Hind and will probably likely go through the same process will probably also appear on RN carriers. Given that I can't see any reason that the process would change just because it's a jet aircraft. The Royal Navy is going to want the new technology on its carriers, even if it's only a few
You
squadrons.
do realize that the aircraft that does that is the Fairy Battle, which becomes the Fairy Fulmar. Well, by some many workings from the same design study.
I was talking about the.
That's replaced the Hawker art.
Yeah, I was talking about the Heart, you know, and with the Fury, the Hind, which became the Fury, which
Yes,
became
it's
the
a
Heart.
light bomber. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Hind, which became the Fury, which became the.
What was the next light bomber which replaced in service?
No, I'm. No, you're making you're taking the wrong thing from what I'm saying. I'm talking about the Hawker Fury, which was developed from the Hawker Heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was introduced in 1930, and then the Hawker. Let me see. What was it? It was the Hind that was the version in use at sea, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Come on. Hawker Heart is that. Nope, that's the Line Bomber. The Heart is the. Because the Hind was that. 35. Oh, come on. Not what I'm looking for.
And the aircraft which was procured under the specifications to replace it in its role as light bomber was.
Yes, the Fairley Battle, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm trying.
It is. You said whatever replaced the Heart would probably be the jet aircraft.
No.
So probably the jet aircraft. Look up the specification list for the Fairy Battle. That would be what would be
No.
procured as a jet aircraft.
What I meant was the aircraft that is procured instead of the Heart. Because if the Heart comes into service in 35 and jet aircraft are mature by 36, it will likely be that the Hind will not be procured, and a jet aircraft will be procured instead.
Hey, okay. So sorry, you're misunderstanding something about aircraft procurement. Look at the engine which is fitted to the Heart.
Yes,
What is it?
the Rolls-Royce F11, sorry.
Yeah. Is it the latest and greatest engine which the Rolls-Royce have at the time?
No, it's a reliable one.
Yeah. So basically the point is, for light bomber roll, for these rolls, you're going to get reliability chosen over. So even despite it being mature, if you were talking for a fighter roll, Gloucester Gladiator, yes. But for the Heart, no, it's going to be the Heart. What's going to be the jet one is going to be whatever succeeds it.
Well, the thing is, if we have a replacement for the Gloucester Gladiator, then wouldn't that? Because that doesn't come until February 37. So if the Gloucester Gladiator is replaced by some form of jet, the problem with changing this is that you have to change. I really would like Rex's Hangar to be here for a question like this, because you change by bringing in the jet engine. You're changing so much that.
Okay. So, I'm going to take it that you have a copy somewhere of Meekham's and Morgan's British Aircraft Specifications file.
No, I do not.
You don't. That's a shame. I'll try and track you down a copy, because I have one and it's excellent.
I wish I had
When you
one.
come
It'll
down here to eventually pick up, when you come down here to pick up your new book, your new computer when we've built it,
And the books as well. I
and
may
build it,
as well grab them.
and several books. This I will see if I can't have one of these about you. Now,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, you're asking for jet aircraft, right?
Well, no. I'm just trying to.
Yes.
I'm just trying to work out
Yes.
how the question is.
When do you think the first jet aircraft was specified?
I know it wasn't till. I know it was. I know it was in the mid-30s. In fact, I know that several had flown prior to 1936. The technology existed; it just wasn't mature.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am aware. We're talking about The problem is that we're talking about mature jet technology, which is something, so we are shunting 10 years back. The problem I have is that if you're talking about mature jet technology, you're talking about basically a flat-out replacement for every single engined asset in British service that isn't doing colonial operations.
Why?
So the first mature jet aircraft design, they are asking for 1936, right?
Yes.
The first of what we would consider a mature design for the British, i.e. design which was designed with an idea to actually being mass-produced, is actually specified in 1939.
Yep, doesn't surprise me.
So we're not actually going
And,
back 10 years, we're going back 3.
No,
Yeah.
no, not really. Because
Oh?
you have, you have to remember when that design actually appears. It doesn't appear till 1944.
No,
No, wait, what?
Fleet?
You
It-
can't
it-
sit there and tell me that the Gloucester E... Oh, what was it? The Gloucester E...
E-2839.
That is not... It is an experimental aircraft. It is not a mass-producible combat platform. It is
It is something that could be one, though.
No.
It is designed with the idea that it could be.
But no,
now,
that's...
the important thing is, though, this comes, of course, from OR-77. And it isn't just from OR-77, though. There is also this is the Gloucester Whittle high-speed aircraft, but there is also the high-speed light bomber program, and a few others, which actually date back earlier and have got earlier precedents. And some of them turn into later specifications, some of them are earlier science specifications. So pretty much there is enough activity going on that whilst you can't give a 100% accurate idea, if let's say the jet engine had proved better in testing and more reliable, and the main problem seems to have been getting the metallurgy and thickness right on the turbine blades, which is an absolute balancing act, and there are even modern countries today which can't do that, which don't have the technology to do this, because and they would prefer to buy it rather than do it themselves, because frankly, it is a nightmare to get it running, and a huge amount of money has to be invested to get it done. But the thing is,
I mean, I suppose it's
if
down
you can
to
get
my...
that, if that's fixed slightly earlier, then you have to consider what's the likelihood of things coming in. The first thing that's going to come in is going to be probably a fighter, followed by a heavy bomber, followed by a light bomber.
Heavy bomber.
Because that's the priorities.
Heavy...
It'll probably be more of a Wellington-style heavy bomber, two-engined aircraft. But, that was heavy bomber for some of the day.
So more on the flavour of Canberra, but early, rather than a true strategic bomber. Okay, that's a tactical bomber. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're not.
Well, no, because any twin-engine jet bomber is not a strategic bomber. As in,
That's...
not in this period. Given the fact that given the fact that the true jet strategic bomber, as in a jet that had the ability to carry the payload and range reliably, doesn't come about until you get things like the P-45 Tornado and the Russian Tu-16 Badger.
Right. Fleet. Here's the question then, Fleet. Was the Wellington a strategic bomber?
Yes, it was, because that was...
What it was designed for?
Yes. I would argue that a twin jet bomber designed during this period, given the load it would be able to carry, would likely fall into a tactical bomber role, something more akin to a Blenheim or a Beaufort.
No, because
you'd probably have a four-engined strategic bomber, although not four-engined in the way we would consider it to be in terms of a Lancaster or a It would be an aircraft.
Why not?
It would be an aircraft about the size of a Wellington, but it would have four engines, and it would achieve. It would basically be doing the Wellington's job, but being a much more capable airframe, capable of much higher speeds. Kind of like a cross between a P-45 Tornado and a B-45 Tornado and a English Electric Canberra.
Why?
because that's what you need to get the weightlifting performance, speed, and
So the
reliability
design
for an early jet bomber.
literally directly hot swap the Lancaster's engines for jets.
No, Dragon, that's not.
It was a thing considered
Yes,
and
but
found
the...
would work.
No,
Lee,
No.
don't take this the wrong way, but the Canberra can carry 8,000 pounds of bombs. The Vickers Wellington can carry 4,500 pounds of bombs.
Yes, but the English Electric Canberra is not a design you're going to get in this period. The jet technology.
But also the jets are more powerful than the propellers on
Not-
average.
Yes, but again, for a
Especially if we're now going off mature.
for a strategic bomber, you're going to want four.
No, basically the thing is though. But what I'm
You're
saying
all
is,
thinking with hindsight.
What
I'm thinking
no,
actually.
no,
no,
I'm thinking you basically the Vickers Canberra you're talking later is a tactical bomber, yes, but that can lift 8,000 pounds.
Yes.
The Wellington is a strategic bomber, can lift 4,500 pounds.
Yes.
Earlier on.
Yes.
So basically, in the requirement we're looking for in this period would also be to lift 4,500 pounds worth of bombs.
Yes. You probably.
Which I think twin jet engines could quite reasonably do.
No, I disagree fundamentally.
Why?
You don't have you don't have the jets in this period to do that.
Fleet. In World War II, Meteors, Gloucester Meteors, could carry 4,000-pound bombs.
No,
A
1,000.
A fighter that was then considered to be for use in fighter bombing could carry 4 1,000-pound bombs with 2 very early jet engines. Do you see why I'm having trouble accepting you saying a built from the ground up built bomber couldn't?
The problem I have with this is that you're talking about the first jet bomber to be used in a strategic role. You're going to want redundancy. You're going to want at least 2 engine redundancy.
Are you?
And you're also going to want the range that redundancy will provide.
Fleet. Did the Wellington have twin engine redundancy?
No, but it didn't need it because piston engines were
Yes, it
reliable
did.
and proven. The jets are not.
But if this technology is entered into the and is proven in 36, by the time of World War II, it will be proven enough to be reliable for service.
Right. Okay, no, a good question for Fleet. Does Fleet know why they transitioned from 2-engine bombers to 4-engine bombers? The RAF.
Yes, I know. To increase payload carrying capacity. I know.
No,
It's part of it, but not all of
it
it.
was for high altitude performance
Mhm.
due to the drop off in the early bomber engines. That's why they looked at 4-engine bombers. They could go higher.
I just
Carry-
really struggled to understand.
It's
Go on, fucking-
secondary. The
I just-
carrying capacity is secondary.
I just really struggled to see why apparently, if in World War II a Gloucester Meteor could carry 4,000 pounds of ordnance,
I'm not arguing that point anymore. You've made
why
your point.
why a strategic bomber
not
would
gonna-
fail?
Well, I've already conceded that point. You'll notice I'm not arguing
Didn't
against it
sound
anymore.
that way.
All right, Dragon, you want your gotcha moment? Here it is. Congratulations, you win. I guess I'm wrong. There, happy? Said it verbally.
I'm not trying to get a I'm right out of this. I'm curious on your thought process and why you seem to think that you were right.
Reliability in early jet aircraft is incredibly important. For a fighter, you could accept slightly lower reliability, but if we're talking about a strategic bomber, I'd argue that you still want the extra redundancy.
I'd actually argue the opposite. Fighters you actually care more about because normally they have less engine. Like, if it had potentially have maintenance flaws in general, it could, yes. Also, Poseidon, no, do not run jet and hybrid at this point, jet and propeller at this point. No, things to think that out would be awful.
Unless you're making a turbojet. And if you're making a turbojet, how the fuck are you doing that?
But I would also point out, why wouldn't they go for a 4-engine bomber? Why wouldn't they just go and absolutely slam Germany with an aggressive amount of ordnance at high speed?
Same reason they didn't do it historically. It takes time to develop these.
So they would.
Also, there's the whole production capacity, because that means
Yeah.
you have to build 4 engines for every bomber.
Yeah, and you've also got to remember.
And which is better, to have 2 bombers going at the target, or 1 bomber with 4 engines?
Yes. Shall we move on, Fleet?
Yeah, please.
And
let's-
now also consider that the RAF has
Also-
proven.
Fox, we're moving on.
Just
I know, but moving on so we actually can get through the questions.
bombing dragons, strategic bombing.
So, next question, please.
Calculates it poorly here.
And welcome to
We
Rambling.
have to have a list of Foxo's favourite topics, so we have a heads up when we're wandering into them, so we know to give her extra time.
I'm also like a book of grudges. Like a proper nice leather-bound book and such of the list of grudges of topics done incorrectly that she wishes to touch upon in future.
Knight 6831 asks, how terrifying would an incomparable carrier conversion with an air wing of 100 to 150 aircraft be? This is from YouTube.
Not.
Not terrifying.
It's not terrifying. It gives a lot of scope for growth, but it's not terrifying. When you get over 100 aircraft, you get massive issues with control.
Honestly, once you get over 90, it's just, yeah.
What it does give is massive scope for growth.
You almost end up having to run that as almost 2 separate air wings.
Yeah. Basically,
I
that's
think
the long
the
and short of it.
problem with the growth of their fleet primarily comes down to the actual lifts.
Yeah, but there's also, bear in mind, that's also one of the things with scope for growth, is that you can dig into your hangar space to install larger lifts. Lifts are not things that... It is a job to upgrade them, but you can do it. I mean, we see it done on carriers numerous times.
It is a hell of a job to do it, but...
Well, yeah, but it's something you do. You've just got to do it. You've just got to bite
No.
the bullet and do it.
No. We are not making a catamaran carrier.
Honestly, what they probably do with something that size, they might actually make double-sized lifts anyway in the first place.
Yeah.
And on a double-sized
to-
lift originally will probably, would probably
actually-
be
yeah.
enough.
That
Would probably
would
be enough to keep it would not keep it up. Eventually, they dropped to at one point 1 aircraft because that's all they could fit aboard them. But
that would be very good.
Let me just check out keeping up with the...
the more interesting thing would be what are the 90-ish aircraft they're loaded with? Because again, as we were talking about earlier, if you've got the ability to make them truly multi-role purpose twin-engined aircraft.
Are we going back? Can we not go back? We go forwards?
Well, no, it's
Yeah,
a modern element of that which applies to the current.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Because that carrier would be an incentive to do it. But realistically, to do that, you need to have enough carriers to justify it, not one carrier. One off is not really enough to justify to do it.
So, since Foxo is
It's
here...
Rifle, where's that
So
from?
since
That looks
Foxo
like
is
from
here,
Command and Conquer.
we now have Timu's question. For the panel, Fleet, Dr. Clark, Dragon, and Foxo. Pick your best-looking warships from the past 4 centuries, 1 ship for each century, and explain why it's the best-looking one for the century. Doesn't ask much, does he? So for me, the last 4 centuries, so 21st, 20th, 19th, 18th. So 18th, I'm very sorry. I'm gonna have to say I am an absolute sucker for HMS Victory because she is the ship of the line, and there is nothing more glorious than a ship of the line under sail. Especially in that lovely yellow and dark blue paint scheme. For the 19th century, you may be surprised to hear, it's actually not Hoche. My favourite ship from the 19th
Are
century...
you cheating again?
No.
Your favorite ship, Flea?
My favourite looking ship from the 19th century is actually the Russian armoured cruiser Rurik. I love how she somehow exudes power, but also how she looks basically, the 1892 one, how she looks so... She looks almost like, well, she is a rigged ship, but she's also somehow at the same time a thoroughly modern cruiser when she's commissioned. And it just I just like how she looks. You've got the twin raked funnels, the two masts, the mix of quick firing 8 and 6-inch guns on the broadside with no centerline mounts. She's just a thoroughly clean, good-looking ship in my opinion. For the 20th century, my pick is probably. Let me think. 20th century. Oh, that's a tough one. Honestly.
Am I the only one who lost what he
we
said
lost
off
you there.
on?
Yeah, we lost you there, Fleet.
I heard
okay,
on, and then it just went off.
So, let me try that again. My favourite ship for the 20th century is probably Goban after her full rebuild into Yavuz. I honestly love the paint scheme the Turks came up with. I kind of love how she sort of resembles... Like, the bridge superstructure is quite nice. I like how they removed a lot of the clutter. So a lot of the tall masts gave her a decent-looking superstructure. Removed some of her casemates. I just like how she looks. And in the 21st century, best-looking ship. I'm sorry, it's not a military vessel. Oh, it has to be a warship. Oh, that's cruel.
Yeah.
21st century.
No.
The problem is it's all various shades of block. In terms of, honestly, best-looking warship of the 21st century, unpopular opinion, the Admiral Gorshkov class frigate from the Russian Navy, because it doesn't look like a tower block. So I guess it's over.
Okay,
It's over.
Dragon?
It's over to the other members of the panel.
Dragon?
The problem is, when it comes to early ships, I'm not as
You can just
well
pick
vested.
honestly, given in the 18th
So,
century, a
in
lot
terms
of
of
ships-
18th, it's not. I don't really have a favorite. I recognize them, but just none of them really appeal to me. I'm definitely more at Age of Steam and Iron,
So
which is why
am
it's
I.
probably not too surprising for stuff like HMS Warrior to be my favorite for the 19th.
Yeah.
The beginning of an era, and which is very fun. Also, you get the amusing thing in the Total War Shogun games where, yes, the British have arrived and they wreck everything.
Yeah.
Warrior. Yeah. Warrior do be a funny moment.
20th, again, similar to Fleet, is the problematic, though I'd probably go with HMS Warspite in her 1942 configuration with the weird checkered camo. I don't know why it's just always been my favourite camo for her. I'd probably give a shout out to the Nelson and Rodney just because it irks people.
Honestly,
But
honestly, I missed the treat. I should have gone with Rurik 1892 for the 19th and Rurik 1906 for the 20th because I also like how she looks. I don't know why I didn't. That would have been funny. Oh.
Second answer, please.
Foxo, what are you saying? What's your views going?
Wait.
Your choices?
We haven't heard Dragon's 21st century ship yet.
Oh, no, count.
When were they built? Were they modern? Yes, they were. Good enough. Probably as much as people hate either is it Freedom class or is it Independence class Littoral combat ship or the Zumwalt? They've always just been ships that I've just liked the look of. I understand they're not necessarily the
Dang,
best, but
you
pure
stole
visual.
you stole my choice for the 21st century.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say
Wait,
some.
what, Foxo?
My turn?
Yep.
Right. I don't know if the dates exactly match up, but first one has to be Santísima Trinidad. It's just trust the Spanish to invent the commie block and sea before the Soviets do. And then you can hear us, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then, this is gonna sound crazy, but the Popovs, you know, the little circular warships the Russians made,
Yeah.
just because they just look adorable, and from what I was reading, they weren't half bad, I don't think. But we used to think they were much worse than they were, because we didn't have access to the Russian language sources on them. What, 20th century? Oh. I'm sorry
Which
for
of
your old...
your baby girls?
What's that, Dragon?
Which of your baby girls are you going to go with?
It's a tie between the weapon class and Renown in 1944.
Thought as much.
Just because Renown, she just has the line.
She does. Renown is gorgeous.
She's not fat like the Iowas are. She's slim, she's fast, the turrets, they're smooth, they're lovely. And she's just, especially with that lower deck at the back, she's just proportioned brilliantly. And then I love sort of like the turrets, her secondaries, chef's kiss. Now, favorite ship of the 21st century? If we're going warships, is a
Warship.
Seawolf. But absolute favorite is the Seawise Giant. Just
Honestly,
because
I can get behind that. Like, I can absolutely respect that choice. Like, I just 100% understand the thinking there. I'm with you, Foxo. Just, yeah. Like, me and Foxo don't agree on much.
Because there's a very funny image of her next to a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. And the Nimitz-class looks like a toy boat. And it's just... She wasn't beautiful like Renown was, but she was sort of, Jesus, hell, that was built, sort of thing.
We built this thing that moves. Oh my goodness, as a species, we can cook.
Yeah, it's sort of like, if Renown's a beautiful building, Seawise Giant was the Hoover Dam. Yes, it's a monolith of concrete and, or in her case, red steel, but it's just its scale. And the fact that she took 2 Exocet missiles and didn't sink, remember correctly?
It's gonna be interesting, what Clark's choices are here.
Yeah, well,
Which ships will he have to
Well,
betray?
18th century Africa,
that's a good
just
choice.
because she is the sexiest ship at Trafalgar,
I mean, classic
and
third
she
rate.
does it. She does it solo. Let's be honest. Any
Yeah.
ship which does Trafalgar solo, she's got to be one of your favourites, and she's a good-looking ship. To
And I mean,
boot, and a
honestly,
good sailor.
she's got that classic third-rate look going for her. Like she's not the flashy first-rate. She's the classic run-of-the-mill. If for anyone at the time who thinks ship of the line, they'll either, if they're a civilian, they might think first-rate. But if they're a sailor at sea on a merchant ship, the ship of the line they're most likely to see at any time is a third-rate.
Yeah.
Hello, people.
Hello. And for 19th century HMS Warsprite.
Ooh, the
I don't need.
the armored cruiser.
I don't need to. I don't need to make the case. I can just leave it there because let's be honest, she's great. And also, anyone wants to disagree with me, I would say that the person who would also choose that is a gentleman called Drac. So good luck. You can have a choice of arguing with me or Drac over that one. It's a fun. It'll be fun either way for us. Then for the 19th century, for the 20th century, I'm gonna go with HMS Tiger. Because she is definitely the cutest looking battlecruiser the Royal Navy ever built. And then for the 21st century, because no one, my first choice was selected, I'm going to go with the Queen Elizabeth class.
What's your first choice out of curiosity?
Zumwalt.
Zumwalt.
I don't know what. There's just something
Okay.
nice looking about them.
They are
pyramids.
basically they are basically what the modern destroyer probably should look like and probably would look like if people hadn't had bright ideas.
So, next question. So Brandon
We all know
Larson.
how my feeling about people having bright ideas.
Yeah, Brandon Larson. How impractical is a 150,000 to 200,000 ton aircraft carrier? Could you see any navy in the world building a carrier that big, or would it be more likely for space warfare? The problem with a carrier that big in the modern era isn't so much impracticality. After all, US carriers are broaching 100,000 tons at this point. In fact, I think the Gerald R. Ford class carriers are at full load 100,000 tons, give or take. Obviously, it's classified exactly how big they are.
And please note, they are. If you go and click on the Nimitz class, they also say about 100 to 105,000 tons. And then you go look at their length and their stats, and then you look at the Gerald R. Fords, and you go,
yeah, they're gonna be heavier. They're gonna be heavier.
yes.
But what I will say is that the thing holding carriers back in terms of size increase is basically down to what you get for that increased size, and also the need to have multiple ships. So let's say you build a 200,000 ton carrier. You could have built two 110,000 ton carriers for the same cost. And
They couldn't.
in ballpark figures,
Are you going to need 4 reactors? Are you going to need 4? No. Are you going to need 4 reactors for 200,000 tons versus 2 reactors for the 100,000 ton one?
let's see, what does Ford need in terms of reactor tonnage? Because I have to go off. No, because she has 2 reactors.
2 Betchel A1B pressurized water reactors. That's what she has.
I'm just trying to think. Also, because these won't
And
necessarily
you only
scale
need-
linearly.
Now, you only need 1 set of lifts. You only need 1 set of. The trouble is with carriers, once you start going down the route of going, well, it's just tonnage, and therefore that we can break that up. You can't. This is why larger carriers are always more efficient.
Well,
Do you want
yes,
to know what
but
the limitation on carrier size is, and why it won't be greater than 100, probably about 110,000 for a while?
go on.
Hmm?
If you get
Aircraft, you can operate. Size of aircraft, you can
Oh,
operate
not-
from a carrier.
I was also going to round on that as why aircraft weren't going to grow anyway, but I was going to say 200,000 ton carriers are just not practical right now.
Basically, at that point, you're operating B-21 Raiders from a carrier.
Yeah, good luck.
At
Don't
which point,
tempt
good
the
luck
US.
with the wings.
Oh, don't worry.
No, the thing
I
is,
think-
good luck with the wings. They
Hmm.
might want to, but as the US would testify to, trying to make if you're going to put wings that size for that size aircraft through a catapult launch, the weight of them is going to become truly special.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the thing is, you're basically looking, if you want to operate an aircraft of that size from a 200,000 ton carrier, you're basically looking at having a third EMAL that runs the majority of the length of the ship, that is used for launching these incredibly heavy aircraft, that basically accelerates them far more gradually than the EMALs you use for your
Basically,
other aircraft.
basically the waist one, which they have, would have to be a lot longer.
Yeah,
A lot longer. The waist catapult they tend to have is quite big anyway, but it would have to be a lot longer.
Isn't there a issue here, though? The fact that normally the rate for an aircraft scales with its size.
yeah.
So if you're an aircraft here that needs 200,000 tons to operate these aircraft, they're going to have the range to just fly from your land-based aircraft.
This is. But
Well, the reason you justify that, and I've been in discussions about this, is if first strike capabilities reach the point at which you cannot prevent them reaching your air bases at a long range, then basically your airbase security lies on mobility.
yeah.
And that's the thing. Ships, because of ships' mobility, despite people talking about the ability to kill them, etc., and those weapon systems, there are limitations. You have to find them to be able to kill them. Whereas with a land base, you can tend to Google it.
Yeah, what I would also say is that we're also talking about a move away from enablers. And what I mean by that is in air combat, there is a gradual move away from dependence on independent AWACS and tankers, because
people have just realised they might be targets.
So you're seeing aircraft grow in size to bring their sensor suites inside themselves, bring the fuel tanks inside themselves. It's one of the reasons why you look at the NGAD for the US, the 6th generation demonstrators China showed off, and you look how big they are compared to the aircraft that have come before. Heck, even something like J-20. The reason J-20 is so much bigger than F-22 is because the Chinese don't have as large a tanker fleet, don't have as large an AWACS fleet, so the J-20 operates with less enablers, so it's bigger to carry more fuel and a greater sensor suite. Yeah, well, hey, that was a good tangent.
Yeah.
Where's the next one?
When you're right, no one's going to disagree with you.
Thank God for that. For a second there, I thought I was going to go
When you're right.
Yeah, well. 1 in a million isn't half bad.
You do better than that, Fleet. You do better than that. You got a good batting average.
So we did that. Knight, you don't have to. Knight, you don't have to ask the same question twice. It's fine. The bot will pick it up.
You're running the bot, so I can tell. I can tell my good friend that the bot is running.
Oh, don't worry.
Runon's
They're in
there.
chat.
They're in there. Yeah, they're looking.
I know
watching.
Runon's in there, but Runon might not believe.
No, they can see. Like, they're in my server. They can see. Like, they are my head technical moderator.
Yeah.
So USS Montana 67 on YouTube asks, somewhere in the J-class derivative designs, which one started having a flattened stern in the Royal Navy? Does he mean the J-class submarines? Or does he mean the J-class, destroyers?
Does he mean the J-class designs which go along with the G3s?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Does he mean the destroyers? Does he mean the submarines? Does he mean the...
I think he means the capital ship designs. I wouldn't be surprised with that one. And honestly, the Royal Navy have been flirting with flat designs for their sterns for quite a while, but the problem is you have to deal with tradition. There was even a flat design, I think, proposed for the Queen Elizabeths at one point.
Transom stern go brrr. No,
Was that basically purely them down? Was that
he actually does mean the destroyers.
Oh, cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
I was actually... Okay, that's 2 strikes for me. Good lord. How did we get here?
There are multiple options. It's quite good. But yeah, that's one of the things which was also considered, I think, for the tribals.
Yeah, because you get 8 J-class in total.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not actually sure where they start going with it. Object.
Where did I... Okay, so the next question will be a Discord question. Dragon, do you have access to the stream Q&A in my server quickly, just in case you need it to add to the document? Good. Okay, that's good. So we're all right.
I've been looking, but I've been keeping up with the chats more though.
Fair enough. As long as we are where we are.
I'm currently having some fun because at a certain point I've just had a chat with. Well, you know, Fleet has a Twitch channel.
Yeah, I don't use it that often.
And someone else from Shipshape has a Twitch channel. Other than me. And we've been considering we've been considering options for what we might do as the three of us, as the free Twitch Shipshapers, as a sort of game we could play with the three of us. And I'm low-key making a campaign that we do Warhammer 40k between the three of us.
I don't
What, that's a tabletop game?
I don't have any.
No, the first-person shooter.
Oh, wait, which one? Which one? There's 2.
The new one.
Space Marine 2.
Space Marine 2, yeah.
You're building me a computer that'll be able to run that reliably.
Fleet, that should be the bare minimum considered these days for what a computer can run.
Yeah. Nicest way. That computer will be that computer in the nicest way with what we're talking about. And I am watching the Discord, what we can get together, and I have basically already decided that whatever we cannot get, I will find by other means if need to make sure you
got
get
a good point there.
decent. It would be quite a good one for you.
clearly, actually, instead of sending you to Space Marine 2, we need to send you to Space Hulk Deathwing.
Hey,
n-
brother,
Praise the
decided-
lion and
Brother.
Gene
No,
Stealers.
brother.
the reason we're doing Space Marine 2
Yeah.
is that eventually there might actually be a competition which someone might have heard about coming, which we could then enter,
Hey,
and Fleet might be able to win some money
hey.
if we did well.
At that point, I might have to accelerate my plans to get a new computer myself, just so I can show Fleet the true power of the First Legion.
Oh, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Dragon, no. We have to play Deathwing and Space Hulk so that I can use the heavy flavor and fry your brand new PC.
If it manages to do that, well, then the PC didn't deserve to live.
Oh.
All I'm going to say is ray tracing on a heavy flavor.
I'm sorry, brother.
It's
get,
fun.
I'm sorry, brother. Get the flamer, the heavy flamer.
Yeah, you do know that meme literally does like the main version of that meme originates from Deathwing.
Oh no, I know.
Mm.
That was the video that got me into I watch him all the time, but I have forgotten his name.
Oh, Runon would like to jump up, please. Runon feels she should be part of this.
If she ever needs to jump up, she should just ping me or Foxo.
She's been pinging people, but they haven't been paying attention, so she pinged me.
I've not received anything.
Me neither.
I don't think she pinged you. I think she's probably.
I just pinged Dr. Clark because I know that he's the one that actually pays attention to his DMs. Who is the third member of this Twitch chat? Have I been dragooned into something else now?
No.
This is plausible, but
No,
I would have thought it
Garius.
might be Garius.
Oh, okay.
But don't worry,
Though, Runon,
you'll be all
Space
done
Marine
up.
2's multiplayer is 6-player.
Wait.
Yeah,
There's
you'll
room
be
for
all done
you.
up. There is room. It's
The
whether we can
multiplayer,
get Drac to
multiplayer.
play it as well.
Oh
That's
boy.
the thing.
This is
So,
gonna be
Dragon, are you
interesting.
telling me I have to become an e-girl, start streaming War Thunder on
Stop
Twitch?
it! Stop! No! 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 I am not. No! 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 No!
Next
no.
question, please.
Yes.
I might see if our
Next
local
question
if
for
our
the
local
defeat
VTuber. I would also say I might see if our local VTuber, because I know she has a Twitch account, wants to be part of it as well at some point. If we do the full multi time, and I know Yuki's in the chat, so she's probably hearing this and probably going.
Oh, she is.
She's either panicking at the idea.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah,
know.
she literally said,
By the way, this is
wait,
very.
who?
This is
Well,
very
actually,
early
I'm so
conversations. Me and Gareth just had a chat this afternoon. And went, we'll talk about this because if we can get this to work, it could be quite fun.
and of course we got Drac as well, which could also get involved, which would be funny.
Oh,
Drac
noises there,
involved in Drac in a first-person shooter is interesting.
Uh,
I don't know if he'll be really good or
somewhat
slightly
horrifying.
too slow for it. Yeah.
He's very clinical.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise
It's
me.
slightly scary.
That doesn't surprise me either.
I'm sorry,
The
can we
engineering
get Drax
spirits.
Lord out, do you think?
And yes, technically speaking, Spiteful is right that Space Marine 2 is third person.
So what
But-
did? Okay, okay.
Technically, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, so where were we? So I did
But
that
it's over the
one.
shoulder, though.
Yeah.
So we did.
It's close enough.
So we did. Come on, Fleet, engage brain. So we did.
Task impossible.
Fleet, how are you failing at figuring out the question? You've literally now got a bot for it.
Yeah, I'm used to doing YouTube, Discord. I now have to do
Yeah?
Discord. It is a different thing.
What?
I need to work up to doing it. I just let me cook.
It's no. It is still Discord YouTube.
Yes,
It is just now the YouTube questions for you have been positioned in a nice, neat list
Dragon.
in Discord.
Dragon, I have been doing the same thing for nearly a year, if not longer. It's going to take me a
Then
while
get
to
with the
adjust.
time, old man.
You can't just change a system and expect me to adapt instantly. That's not how it works.
The future is
How
now, old man.
How come it is that I have to go and attend to something at work and then I tune back to Fleet getting raked over the coals for sitting on, a very easy to use program that's been in his inbox for 2.5 months?
Oy.
She's got you there.
How does that one work?
Do you at least remember if it was a Discord or YouTube you've just done?
Yes, it was a YouTube. So the next question.
So then it's
is...
a Discord.
I know.
So what was the question?
Yuki says, I have a question for Fleet. What does he think of this, and does he get the reference? Yes, I absolutely get the reference. That is an incredibly funny thing you have done there. Ah, yes, Red Dwarf Locomotive. Funny. Well, that was a quick...
Patch, listen to me very, very carefully, Patch. I am not adminning a Minecraft server. It's not happening.
She's adminning a crossover.
Don't worry, we've penciled it in for November this year. Fairly sure by now you'll be on board with everyone on.
Okay, I can't threaten Dr. Quartz, but I can threaten Foxo. If I'm over there, I will noogie you or something. I don't know.
But then I will make sure to
Something
protect the
dangerous.
Also, then again, not that she needs protecting. She is quite
Yeah.
efficient with a rifle. And if you really irked her, she pulls out the 300-pound Jenny's crossbow.
Dragon,
Yeah,
my
I'm
experience
sorry,
is
I'm sorry.
don't get involved in the middle of a cat fight. Okay, especially not between two girls who are friends. In a nice way, don't. You will just end up getting beaten up. No matter if one's your girlfriend or not, you will end up being the target. Just let them have at it, go away, make sure no one's taking pictures or being weird, and just let them enjoy themselves. Then at once,
How
it'll
do
be
you think I
sorted
don't
out.
get them to stop fighting?
I will let Dragon be mean to you.
I don't even be mean to her.
Oh, no, don't you dare.
Make sure
Don't
that
you
you
dare.
get proper
Don't
amount
you
of
dare.
sleep, drink, and food. You know.
We'll come over there, and I will teach you why the crossbow, for over 100 years, was used over the fucking gun.
Alright, is Fleet gonna have to
good lord.
interfere?
You're talking
I'm gonna
about
have
you.
to...
Next question, please. Next question, please.
Before Foxer starts bringing up new articles of Geneva Conventions. Next question.
So, the next question
Yeah,
is...
nice way, the
Canadians
Canadians
have
don't need any ideas.
Read on that.
Yeah, so the next question
The
is...
YouTube fleet.
Bone Meal Boy asks... Bone Meal Boy asks, do you think there is a possibility for the Indians to join the Type 83 program or any other British surface combatant program? If so, what modifications would need to be made to the ships in order to meet their needs? I'm sorry, the Indians are making a series of determined efforts to go domestic. In basically all respects.
Well, the thing is, actually, yes and no. What I could, you see, if you consider the current British programs, if you consider what we've done with the Canadians and the Australians, is we come up with a core design, and then they adapt it. And to an extent, it's a quick trick of getting a modern design. So potentially, the Indians could go there. If they decide that they want to shorten their design process want to cut the design process by half when it comes to replacing their destroyers. If they want to speed up procurement over what they're currently doing, that is an option for you to do it.
Don't they usually like to buy Russian? Don't they usually like to buy Russian hulls and slap Western systems on them?
Well, no.
Yeah,
thing is...
but that's to an extent what they've traditionally done. But the trouble is, their biggest problem that they got coming through, and it's very obviously their biggest problem, is Chinese expansion.
Yeah.
And they're looking at specifically about how to counter that. And the trouble is the Russians don't have the designs coming through for them to be able to get in there.
There's a reason why the Indians have been looking to go domestic with their nuclear submarines. They've been looking, like, for example, the Indians, there's a reason why the Indians have done two things. So, for example, the Indians, so the Indians currently operate, 2 aircraft carriers. So the Vikrant was being built in 2013, and obviously
And they're building a third.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason why they bought a Kiev and converted it into a full Stobar carrier isn't because they think it's a brilliant carrier that's gonna, lead the world. No, they needed another hull. They needed it fast, and it was an extremely easy way to get another carrier hull in service right now.
Even though it was expensive and late.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
But
totally not because of the sheer amount of embezzlement that went into that sale.
There was that.
People got rich off that.
The Indians were not happy with that one.
I mean, to be fair, they turned, for what they did to that carrier, given the experiences they had, they turned it round fairly sharpish.
Nearly
two th-
twice when
from
Eagle
2000.
Carry was put for it.
Yeah, it's an interesting vessel.
Yeah, although they did a much better job with the purpose-built one, Vikrant, and obviously
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna lie, Vikrant is probably one of the better Stobar carriers in the world today. She's
Not got competition, has it?
pardon.
Not got that much competition, has it?
The only ship I'd say would be better is a better Stobar carrier than her is the the two Chinese carriers, because they're bigger. The two Chinese Stobar carriers are better vessels than her.
Believe what the Chinese say about them.
Well, no, they're one's a Kuznetsov that's been thoroughly rebuilt and is functional, and one is a improvement on that design. They are just flat out better ships than Vikrant is. Carry more aircraft. They have a longer range, better defended.
They're arguing currently over whether they're going to be aiming for a free carrier fleet or a 2 carrier fleet, and most of the arguments. The interesting thing is, they must be going to be aiming for a 2 carrier fleet because Vikramandir, which is of course the converted vessel, has been revealed to have only 10 years of operational life realistically left in her before she gets far too expensive to operate. The realistic thing, though, there is quite an option, is that they've upped the Vikrant design to a 45,000 variant, which is supposed to be laid down soon.
I mean, I thought.
And the really interesting question is whether they go for two of them. And
I thought Vikrant already was a 45,000-ton carrier.
Well, they've got the Vishal. They've got also the Vishal coming along, which is the 65 to 75,000 ton design.
Yeah.
Which so they've got the IS independent aircraft carrier, indigenous aircraft carrier 2 and indigenous aircraft carrier 3. The Vikrant is a 45,000 ton, but was originally supposed to be a 40,000 ton design. You have to remember.
Yeah, so she was expanded, and then of course they seem to be doing the same thing again.
Yes, the 45,000 ton is what they're officially ordering a second one, and they're both the second. It's a debate, I think, now as to whether or not the Vikrant number 2 is going to get ordered, or whether it's going to be 2 of the Vishal class.
It wouldn't surprise me if India actually goes for 2. Given they have a
Not the
desire,
Vishals.
yeah, because the Indians have a desire to, there was a lot of unhappiness when the Indians retired their 3rd carrier to go down to a 2 carrier fleet, even though the other carrier they retired did desperately need to be retired.
They'd like to operate. They would like to operate 3 carriers. Most people placing the case they're not going to be operating 3 carriers based on the reported adversarial state of the Vikramandir.
Well, thing is,
put it this way.
they'll have 3 carriers, but they'll be using them right. So you'll have probably 1 or 2 operational with the ability to surge 3.
Yeah, it's. I think that for the Indians, the criteria is going to quickly come. That's going to decide it is how quickly they start to feel the effects of the expansion of other powers into the Indian Ocean, because to an extent they've managed to reach simpatico with the Americans. The Russians are barely turning up anymore. Other powers wander through, but don't really provide an ongoing presence.
They've got complete overmatch against Pakistan now, just totally. Navally.
Yeah, but that's not really their worry now, because now their worry is not Pakistan, but Pakistan's ally.
Yeah. China.
Yeah. And
also...
not even how. Basically, it's also people think about war fighting. These things. No, think about it as there's this phrase we often use when we're talking about conflict management and deterrence and these things called fighting the peace.
Yeah.
Winning the peace, and how you shape the conflict. And let's put it this way: for the India, because of the significance of if a Chinese carrier comes to visit, for the Indians to be able to achieve a similar level of effect in their area, they need to be a far more visible carrier presence, which means they need more carriers. They need to have usually one operating in the western basin of the Indian Ocean, one operating in the eastern basin of the Indian Ocean. They need to have a sort of almost perpetual presence, but that's the scenario. I think poor Narwhal keeps asking the cart, but I think there's only so much time we can give to this question, and I think me and Narwhal having a nice long conversation about this could last for the rest of this meeting.
Yeah. I also have a set group
No.
of people that I actually have per week.
Yeah.
That I actually have planned for. So, for example, I do this
Yeah.
week. So for this week,
But Noel, if you want to carry on this conversation on Thursday, as after the lives, I have usually a meeting on my Discord server
yeah, the
where I
time
chat
to
with people,
Yeah.
and I would love to have that chat with you then.
oh yeah, like the time to pick Dr. Clock's brain on things isn't during ramblings. It's Thursday after his live. So those go on well into the night.
I usually finish about 2 a.m. in the morning on those Thursdays.
Sundays when Dr. Dan is on as well as everybody else.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So the next question is I believe
Okay, so
I believe it's a Discord question. Let me just check real quick. Let me just check.
They're all Discord questions now.
Yeah,
I
almost
need
as
to
if
keep the
somebody developed a
separation
system
so I
for
don't
collation
lose
from
where I
all
am.
Confuse them. Trust me.
So.
Did you finally see those, Yuki?
I'll have to get up with Cyclic and see if there's a way to modify one of Draft's server bots to essentially be Powder Monkey but Discord variant.
Yeah. Obligatory Trafalgar question from Lazy Authorsan on Discord. It's some months before
Excellent.
Trafalgar. The problem is it's not quite.
Oh,
It's some
fun,
months
alright,
before
isn't it?
Trafalgar. HMS Victory suddenly becomes a ship girl. What does the Royal Navy do? How much extra damage does she do in Trafalgar? Given that, well, the problem is that she can't conduct any of the boarding actions, not in the same way that her crew could do when she was a ship, which is going to be a bit of a problem.
You have a lot of confused sailors in the water.
Yeah, she's going to be a lot more effective, given the concentration of fire she'll be able to achieve, given how much more narrow her arc of fire will be. She's probably, like, her raking broadsides are going to be horrific. But it is. Yeah, and
Here's the question that Moe will get. Now, is she classed as a submarine?
Oh dear. That's an interesting one. Right, I'll be right back, folks. I can hear my own fluffy research assistant making an awful lot of noise in the garden, and I'm wondering why she's still out there. Back in a tick.
Okay.
Okay, Dragon.
Mm.
She's explaining to the foxes that they shouldn't be out there, and the squirrels. That's what she's out there doing.
To explain to those who might not be aware,
Can she explain to
sailing
this?
ships in AL are sometimes classed as submarines for some reason.
Can she explain to this fox the importance of good nutrition, sleep, and hydration?
I've been trying that rune on. She has been very resilient the past few days. Anytime I try, she runs off to you lot saying I'm being mean to her.
And then I look at her and say, well, if you want to make those two fleshy mounds bigger, you kind of need to have a calorie surplus.
Hey, Red Bull is calories.
Wrong type of
Red Bull
calorie.
is not enough calories. Also, it's got a stimulant in it, so that's going to up your metabolism, which means you're going to burn more calories.
Toby Carvery as a acceptable midpoint.
Like, I think Runon, the only reason she's the way she is basically because she has a weekly Dominoes. Without that, I'd really be worried for her.
Listen, I know the UK is, as a general rule, better than the clothes in the US. I get that, and I understand that. But, so you probably can't healthily survive on just whatever a week.
Actually, since I've had to do, I think I know roughly what a US clothes size would be, and that is horrifying.
What is it, a 000 or something?
You're not far off, actually.
Oh, good
Definitely
grief.
something from the child's department.
I wasn't going to say that.
I can
And I thought-
recognize.
The amount of my friends who save money by shopping in kids' clothes departments because there's no tax on kids' clothes is just absurd.
Foxo, if my timeline for immigrating comes to pass the way I hope it does, I am going to hunt you down in that little tiny cloudy island of yours, and I'm going to Hannibal Lecter you back to my residence, where I will make you an American Thanksgiving.
Now, see, I don't know whether I should help this or prevent this, because in some regards, this is exactly what she wants and would make her very happy. But in other regards, she will hate this because you're making her eat.
I have duct tape.
I'd say what you do is you just go along and you eat it with her. So therefore, you're neither assisting but also not stopping.
Oh, I'm not making all that food just for her. I'm going to be eating some of it. I don't know where the heck I'm going to find a turkey over there in November.
Literally
but,
any
you know,
shop.
Tons of them.
They sell
Literally,
turkeys
like,
over
any
there.
shop
Don't worry about that.
In the nicest way, if you want a turkey, that's easy.
Turkeys are actually losing popularity at the moment. More people are swapping over to
I
using
thought-
chicken.
I thought turkeys were more of a Christmas thing for y'all.
They are, but it's still obtainable.
Let's be honest.
no.
If you want a nice turkey, you can get them from most counties. You can find a decent turkey farm which will sell you a turkey. The local breed. We've got several of them. We tend to have. Oh, I think they're called Kent black turkeys, but I'm not 100% sure. Due to the
But also keep in mind, Runon, the UK is preparing for Christmas in November, so by October you can get like whatever size chicken you want from basically any shop.
whatever size turkey you want, whatever size anything
Like,
you want.
like I'm not sure if it's like this in the US, but for the United Kingdom, you basically have from June to October there is Christmas stuff in shops. Then during October there is Halloween. Then as soon as it ticks over,
Halloween,
it goes
a
back
nice
to
way-
Christmas.
Don't take tips the wrong way, my poor, sweet, innocent summer child dragon. But I have recently gone around to my nearest Tesco's, and not only did I find before Christmas Valentine's stuff out, I also found the first beginnings of next Halloween stuff out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
back when I was working as
Halloween-
assistant manager. That was what we had to plan. You're normally planning 8 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween stocking patterns start about July 2nd, July 3rd, and then they're up by last week of October in favor of Christmas, and Christmas is up until about the 20th, and then it all starts coming down.
Yeah, Christmas doesn't come out that early for us.
The one advantage we have here with this system, in my opinion, is it means we get the Easter stuff in very early. And I quite like the Easter stuff because you get stuff like mini eggs.
The Easter eggs have been out since Boxing Day.
No, some of them near me they've been out since 14th of December.
Yeah.
They weren't the pride of place in the aisles, but like they were
I
notably
didn't.
there.
I didn't go shopping between the 10th and the 26th of October.
You know, I don't say I blame you.
There's this thing called Deliveroo and click and collect, and they are brilliant things, as far as I'm concerned. At certain points of the year, people go, "Why are you spending extra money?" I go, "Have you looked in the shop?" And they go, "So it's stress." I go, "It's it's called it's safety." What for you? No, for other people.
Also, can I just say one thing about this? Fleet is terrible at marking off where things are he's actually up to.
Yes.
Like he's marked two
You
questions
think?
in the Q&A. No, he's marked 2 questions in the Q&A log. Not any of
You
others. And it's
think?
not even the first or the last. It's somewhere in the middle.
You think?
I don't think, Renan. I know.
If you're getting weird noises, that's my poodle with a fur. I do
Ah,
apologize.
Did you just say poodle with a Furby?
Furball.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because certain breeds of dogs do indeed get hairballs.
He gets a wool ball.
Yes.
Okay, I checked the can.
Uh-oh.
My Red Bulls have about 900 calories in.
And how many of those are simple sugars?
Right.
I don't know, but
Wait,
It will
you
tell
can't
you
still
how much
track calories from sugar?
Yeah, it will tell you how much sugar.
Thank
And
you,
how
everyone.
It'll tell you how much sugar, but will it tell you how many calories come from the sugars?
no, it tells you how much sugar, not the calories.
Right.
Because I can't
Fuck.
bother through the math just per se.
Foxo? Foxo,
Yes?
might I point out how many calories you need?
About
Is 2,000 and up.
A day.
So 2 cans of Red Bull. Okay, got it.
No.
No. Foxo, you need calories from fats, carbs, proteins, and sugars,
know, I
not
prefer
just
it.
sugars.
You know, I preferred it when you were basically getting Greggs and sausage rolls each day.
That was healthier, believe it or not.
Right. So
Also,
we
again,
need to, so
Red Bull is a stimulant. It will up your metabolism.
Which, whenever
Has
we can,
anyone
drag you to our
Has
little.
anyone actually introduced Ruinon to Greg's yet?
I was about to say, whenever Runon does start coming over to the Misty Isles, we need to drag them to Greg's.
And of course, Weatherspoons.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to
spoons.
turn it down.
Not as big a fan of Weatherspoons, but I do admit they do have their uses.
It's cheap.
Oh,
It-
the
it-
in
it
nicest way. If you come across the
It's cheap.
Weatherspoons
It's
in the
cheap.
middle of the Lake District or something like that, and you have their app, you don't need to talk to someone. You can be sopping wet from being involved in some sort of student event or exercise, and you can get food served without
And-
actually having to engage in human contact. It's
And-
brilliant.
And alcohol. Excellent. Excellent. We all like alcohol. Anyway, so but now that I'm back,
No,
let's
I don't
You like
drink,
alcohol.
remember, Fleet. Fleet, I don't drink.
No, but I do.
Neither do I.
I am extremely limited on what I drink, so
Why am I the alcoholic of the group?
this expert
Although,
does
you know,
explain
It's
a bit,
on many
doesn't it?
occasions.
Because you're from
know,
the
if we-
north of
if we
the English.
Guy,
I want to
the
be
guy,
right.
I,
I
I
want
am
to
from
be
the
had.
north and live in the north, yet I am not.
If-
Yet I drink so
I-
much less.
I would also say,
That's just where?
the thing is, out of the ship-shaped crew,
Newcastle.
Fleet is
currently.
both the person who likes to drink the most and also the one who's least able to
That
hold
is
his
very
drink.
surprising.
Yeah, I'm not so bad at holding my drink as you think. Yeah.
Debatable.
Fleet, I have seen you on brew ships.
Yeah, but that's not me drunk. That's just me being me.
We've seen you drunk on brew ships.
Even then, it wasn't that bad.
We've seen you significantly buzzed on brew ships. Let me put it
And
that
I've
way.
also seen you
Ooh, it's a
significantly
flash
buzzed
card.
here.
Well, yeah, but again, this
Yeah.
is this is all part of the.
Uh-huh.
act.
But it is very noticeable.
Anyway, where did we get
Yes.
to? So,
Yeah,
that was HMS Victory.
I don't
so
know.
we
If
need to
only you had a
switch
bot
over.
to take
I just-
care of that.
Which I would like to point out.
I'm
The
using
amount
it.
of your check marks are terrible. Like you've like put tick marks on like 2 or 3 questions. There we go.
Ruinon on YouTube asked, "Why did it take Fleet so long to implement Powder Monkey?" I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't realize how
And why
simple
did it
was.
take you so long to implement my bot?
Because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't realize it was this simple.
Well, you
Fleet,
could
she
have
actually
asked.
called
You've
you.
only had it. You've only had it since. Actually, you've only had this version since the start of December, and I think I forked out to .2, which is your subheader, at 0.5. So 0.5.2, I think, was the first Fleet fork.
Oy. Fleet
And
fork.
don't worry, there's soon going
And
to
that
be the
was
Italian Military
in-
Archives fork as well.
Oh God, save me!
Typical gunnery
Also,
officer.
we'll consider. I put you forward and suggested there should be a chieftain fork as well.
Oi. You poor sod. Very quickly. So your typical gunnery officer. Oh my God! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
There's like 18. left red?
Okay.
19, sorry.
I'm sorry, your typical gunnery officer, but
Cover some today, some on Friday.
I am looking at these questions and I am going to answer 1 in 3 because otherwise you will just get 1, 2,
the
3.
entire.
Yeah, 1.
No, there's
2,
19. There's 19.
1. No.
That's like up to
Oh no! But he will get 1, 2, 3,
6.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions in a. No, sorry, 11 questions in a row before anyone else gets a word in. So actually,
Okay,
actually,
he's giving Knight a run for his money. What are you going to
Yes.
do?
what I tell you,
And
what,
It's more.
Do not
It's more-
complain about that because you know how many questions you have
It's
shoved
more of a-
through Powder Monkey since its inception.
It's more a case.
I don't
of
want to hear
be
any
more fair on-
complaints.
It's more to be
Also,
fair on
I would say
others,
that-
Runon.
Have you implemented a cooldown time for Fleet yet?
the problem is that
Dot
doesn't
10
apply
is-
to Discord.
He's on such an early version of .10 that no, it's not in on that.
So, your typical gunnery officer, here's what we're going to do. I am going to answer question 1 of that
Barbecue.
set, and the other 10 are going to be saved for Friday. So that
10?
we get... Yes.
10? There's
Yes.
18.
No, of that. No, but Dragon. If we answered all those questions, it would be 11 questions in a row of just your gunnery officers on from.
That's not what I. That's not what I was meaning. But
No, but we're
that
gonna.
meaning there's 18 questions.
No,
in
I
a
know.
row there.
No, but the next question
No,
after
sorry,
that
19.
is lazy author sans. So then we
Why
can.
did I put my phone?
And then, oh god, it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then I'll answer one more from.
Yeah.
So it will be one gunnery officer, then the next question will be lazy author san, then it'll be the next gunnery officer question after that, because that is the most aggressive I've ever seen gunnery officer be with his questions.
It's not the most I've seen. I've seen him put 32 in a row.
That is. Oh my god.
And then I'm still going to skin Montana if Reaper ever does that again, because that was like 38 in a row, and the formatting was horrid. So I had to reformat it all so that it was actually legible.
So, your typical gunnery officer asks thoughts on the LARC LX amphibious vehicle. Why didn't the United States Marine Corps use the LARC or the BARC, and instead it was used by the Army? I can think of a fairly good reason for that. Basically down to the fact that if you look at the size of the vehicle, you're basically looking at it coming in the second wave. It's bringing stuff like trucks. It's bringing stuff like tanks. It's bringing lots of supplies. Like, that is... Okay, the Marines have secured the beachhead. The Army has arrived. Or the Army is bringing its supplies ashore to support its boys inland. Like, that is... Like, that is... It is a... And I can't believe I'm using this word, but it is somewhat fitting. It is a hecking chonker of a vehicle.
Capacity, embrace it. But is it enough of a chonker to carry my crippling lack of self-esteem?
If I also read this correctly, the Army used it because the Army asked for it. The Marines did not.
That also probably would make a great deal of sense. Also, look at the size of it! It's huge! It's huge!
Is it as big as your one for the host
It
fleet?
is 60 tons of carrying capacity.
That's just...
120 people. That is, what, a...
That's
hang on, platoon's, what, a 40?
Yeah,
So
that's like a
4 platoons,
company.
That's, what, a
That's
full
a company.
yeah.
That's a company. Yeah, that's just... Congratulations. So we're gonna send in a division. And we're gonna need so many landing craft. No, we don't. Just 100 of these things rock up. It's like, oh yeah, we will land the full division in one day. And we'll drive them 20 miles inland. Oh, I do love that. So, Gunner Officer, don't worry. We have recorded your questions. None of them will be missed. We're just trying to give everyone else a chance to get their questions in. But before we... But before we get to... before we get to... before we get to Lazy Author Sans question, we have to then go and get the next YouTube question, which is, I believe, 1981. If an Eagle-style conversion of Incomparable could hold 100 to 250 aircraft, would the IRN try to fit that many on the ship just to see what they could learn from it? Yes, because that's the only way they would learn you can't operate that many aircraft. It's the same lesson the US learned with the Lexingtons. The only way...
Did they learn it with Lexington, or did they learn it with Midway Fleet?
No, they learnt it with Lexington because they tried to operate just about 90 aircraft and a bit more on the Lexingtons when they first came in, and they very quickly learnt, no, we can't do this. No, we can't do this. Let's use the spare space to string some aircraft on top of the hangar rather than trying to hold that many.
Why do I remember that lesson being more mid-late war learned than
It's more of a question of why did the U.S. Navy try again with the Midway?
It's basically because they sort of thought, we're a bit older, a bit wiser, we've got improved technology, we can make this work, and then they learned, no, actually, we can't.
Although, just to ensure that it was said, yes, they would try to put 100 to 150
I did say
aircraft on a converted. Yeah, I'm just making sure it was said.
Yeah, because otherwise they don't learn.
Switching between the earbud in the car because I had to go get more liquefied dino grass.
What? Oh, I see.
As you Brits call it, I believe it's petrol
Petroleum, but yes, that works quite well.
instead of gasoline. It's all petroleum.
Yes, so why don't you call it petroleum?
Because your keyboard is made out of petroleum.
Yeah, but
It's gasoline.
Yeah, but
It's a very specific, refined product of petroleum.
grumble, 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 British.
Diesel is petroleum.
Grumble, grumble,
Avgas is petroleum.
grumble, 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 grumble,
British
Bunker
is petroleum.
crude is petroleum.
grumble, grumble, grumble.
Grumble all you want.
I will.
You
It's
know
my-
I'm right.
It's my show.
And
I don't know. I just felt like saying it because sometimes I feel like it's not my show, and people nick off with
if,
me.
And
you have to,
Actually,
if
if
you
you keep
have to
grumbling,
say
I'll
it on a
force you to
routine
answer
basis,
Bible
is
questions.
it really your show, please?
No, we're not doing that, Foxo. We're not doing that.
What Foxo say?
No, we're not doing that. I just
If
no.
he
Look,
Hey,
keeps
Fox, what'd you say?
grumbling, we will
Very
force
interesting
him
question.
to
Don't think
answer
about it.
Bible questions.
No, we're not doing that. So moving swiftly
Bible
on
question.
to Lazy
Oh,
Orthosan asks, it's 1910. Not this question again.
Okay, chat, give me your Bible questions. I need
No.
ammunition against Flea.
Not
No, no, we're not gonna do this.
this. Thank you,
We're
Guy.
not gonna do this. I'm gonna put my foot down as moderator on the server. We're not gonna
Aw.
do this.
Yeah, I keep telling you we're not going to do this. Like I wasn't.
Don't worry,
joking.
Fleet. I've already been voted in enough times to coup you anyway. It's fine.
Lazy Author San asks, it's 1910, a German scientist managed to create a wonder material that can be used to create small batteries with high energy density, allowing for submarines to operate for long periods of time with only electrical engines. How would that change submarine
familiar.
warfare? Yes, it is. It's the same question that we keep rejecting because it doesn't have enough detail. And I'm going to reject it again. What is the difference between the batteries that existed at the time and the batteries from this new material? How much energy can they hold? What sort of range does it allow for? What's the energy density of the material? You have to give specifics for this sort of thing, because if you don't, just saying a wonder material that could be used for making small batteries with high
Also, then
energy
how
density.
do you actually have to make them?
Yeah, is it top?
And as an electrician, I'm going to horn in here and say, you also it's great if they make lithium chemistry or even sodium chemistry batteries, 40 years early or 80 years early, but that's kind of useless if you don't have all of the chokes, throttles, and monitoring equipment that you need to make sure that they don't self-ignite.
And
Because, believe it or not, a lithium battery wants nothing more than to ignite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go get my mail. I'll be back in a second.
Lithium is still lithium.
So,
Lithium
like I say,
like oxygen.
Like I say, Lazy Author, if you want to ask that question again, but ask it in a way where you qualify exactly what these new batteries are capable of and how the material works, then I'll be happy to answer it. But without that knowledge, I can't make an accurate statement on how it changes submarine warfare, anti-submarine warfare, and submarine designs. Because it could just be slightly better batteries, or it could be batteries that work almost so good you can use them. You can use submarines in the 1910s like nuclear submarines.
And remember, kids, lithium is not an edible material.
Your typical gun. So next question is a YouTube question, which is Stephen Mayer. In a alternate history text told from the perspective of the ships involved, the U.S. Navy under Naval Secretary FDR buys the then Congo from Vickers during a work delay from under the nose of the Royal Navy. The Lexingtons don't get their 8-inch guns, and the USS Hornet is towed to safety as the two largest changes to the alternate history. I want to know how believable the alternate history is. Well, first of all, there's a massive jump there between the US buying Congo from Vickers and somehow Lexington's not getting their 8-inch guns and Hornet being towed to safety. That I feel like there's a lot missing
Why
here.
is the U.S. buying?
Yeah,
Why is the U.S. buying Lexington?
No, buying Congo.
Or Congo.
No, they're buying Congo.
But also the question would be...
Yeah, but why?
Well, yeah, first of all, why? Secondly,
No clue.
Yeah, but also, secondly, it's not from under the nose of the RN. They'd have to pry it from the Imperial Japanese Navy's cold, dead hands, because that's the most powerful battle cruiser in the world, arguably one of the most powerful capital ships in the world, period, at that point. And they've paid for her. And they want her.
Yes, and Britain and the U.S. doesn't buy abroad.
Yeah.
As like a point of honor. Now
Yeah.
they might buy the plans off of the UK. I could see that.
But also then...
But again, why?
But also, you've then got the two big changes listed, which is the Lexington. For some reason, this change leads to the Lexingtons not getting their 8-inch guns and Hornet being towed to safety. So I'm just sat there going, why would the US having the Congo change in any way the design decisions for the Lexingtons? Even if they only have a single battle cruiser, it won't change the opinion that they want their carriers to have 8-inch guns, given the possibility of fast cruiser attack. Given the Japanese have Congos, and they still come to pretty much exactly the same conclusion as the US does, that their carriers need 8-inch guns.
Yeah, but they don't fit. Do their carriers get anything bigger than a 5-inch?
Yes.
Or equivalent?
Yeah, a Cargill and Cargo have 8-inch guns.
Well, yeah, but those are encasemates.
No,
they don't have a choice.
No, they have turrets. They have turrets mounted forward.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, they have the turrets mounted forward, but the casemate guns they can't get rid of.
Well, yes.
And overall, they still get rid of the 8-inch guns anyway.
Well, you do realize the 8-inch casemates weren't a part of the original design, right? They were added in afterwards.
No. They were.
No.
A part of the original design.
Nope.
They were a part of the original. They were a part of the original Amagi's design.
No, they weren't.
I don't know. 8-inch casemates on an Amagi sound.
Nope, they were
plausible,
not.
at least.
Nope, they were not part of the original design.
Actually, did Akagi have them? It might just be Kaga.
Nope, neither. Nope, neither the Tosa class battleships or the Amagi class battle cruisers had anything bigger than a 5.5-inch gun. In their
140mm casemates.
The 8-inch casemates were added in for exactly the same reason the US carriers got their turrets.
And also the fact that they had spare 200, because they're not even 8-inch. This is an explicitly notable thing on Kaga, is they are the old 200mm from the four attackers.
Yeah.
Furry tacos.
And those guns are bad.
Well, yeah, but the reason they have them is the same reasoning, so it won't change the US's thinking just having a single Congo. And then I'm also questioning how that also leads to Hornet being towed to safety somehow.
Well, okay, I think he intend on you reading the events separately, not in relation.
The problem is that that's the whole point of the question. He asked the major events of the timeline are that the Lexington class don't get their 8-inch guns and Hornet is towed to safety. Because it's all the same
he
timeline.
changed 3 individual things on this timeline. I don't think he wants you to look at it in relationship, because there is no relationship.
Well, he wants to know how believable the alternate history is. Whether, even if there's no relationship, and especially if there is one, this whole thing is this whole timeline is aggressively silly, and I want whoever wrote it to go back to history class.
I don't remember the circumstances of Hornet's loss well enough, but I think maybe you could get Hornet back to a Hornet operating base. I could see that.
What is it? Hornet just accidentally eat torpedoes, right?
But again, it's just the whole timeline is silly. Why is the US buying a Congo? Why don't the Lexingtons get their 8-inch guns?
If you, based on what I remember of the question phrasing, and I just got home, so for everybody listening, don't worry, your ears will be saved soon. If the U.S. were to buy the Congo class, then that is definitely plausible. If they bought the whole bloody class off of the British, out from under the IJN, then this is plausible with a question mark over Hornet's loss.
But that's the thing. Only Congo was built in Britain.
Yeah, then I got nothing for you, fam.
I mean, to be fair, you could the US could definitely build the Congo, or at least grab the blueprints because it's Vickers, right? All you have to do is just give Vickers enough money, they give you whatever.
And tell the 14-inch gun salesman that he can buy another Rolls if they sell him the prints.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, to be fair, if I was the US, I wouldn't even bother with the Vickers 14. I would just put our own 14s in, right?
Yeah, but it's a meme. And also,
But yes, it's a meme.
If Dr. Clark is still in the chat, if I remember correctly, he has once said that there is not as much daylight between the Vickers 14 and the US 14 as it might be implied.
No, there really isn't. Sorry, I was dealing with a dog who kept
No, that's
coughing up
understandable.
furballs, and I was trying to work out what the problem was. In the end, I decided because he's eating biscuits all right, and he's drinking all right, then what he's doing is trying to pull a fast one to worry all the humans. That's my theory.
Smart puppy.
I could be wrong, but it wouldn't be the first time he's done something like this. Although usually it's forgetting which paw is the one that's hurt.
Poor.
Also, bad news. I've been
Yes.
forced to eat.
Good.
That's good news.
Is it by nickname that we can't really say around here?
Yes, it's by massive personalities.
But technically, if the US do buy the Congos, or at least commission the British to build a Congo, it does spare them some capital yards to continue on their brick building, I guess.
Yeah, and honestly, if they did build a Congo, it would be kind of interesting because
Doctor,
it would be
Dr.
quite
Clark,
it would be quite
I'm
cute.
just having a discussion
Yeah?
with Steve Clark in the chat. Like, I'm aware that he's saying that apparently the Japanese battleships and battlecruisers were built to carry 8-inch guns when they weren't. The decision to up the casemate guns on when they were building the carriers to 8 inches was a conscious decision on the part of the Japanese. They didn't just do it because they needed something to fill the space. Because the battleships and battlecruisers that they're based on do not carry 8-inch guns in casemates.
Oh, they did make a conscious effort in a nicest way. It's like them and the Americans both were obsessed with the idea of putting 8-inch guns on their freaking carriers for some reason. At some
This
point.
is the thing. Like I said, Steve, it wasn't it was a conscious choice to put those 8-inch guns in.
But there is a debate
That's-
because some of the earlier designs did have them.
Yes.
Of those capital ships.
Yes.
But the thing is, they liked the Japanese liked the 8-inch gun because it's basically, you have to remember the Japanese are always thinking about fighting Tsushima.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly. But again, the thing that I don't think, Steve, do you think I'm saying that they didn't carry 8-inch guns? Because if that's what you think I'm saying, then I apologize. I'm not being clear. The Japanese carriers absolutely did carry 8-inch guns when they were launched. If I've been unclear on that, no, they absolutely did, and I think they carried them most of their careers, even during some of their more major.
Put hot sauce in it. No, I've been pranked.
You've been pranked.
Who put hot sauce into what? Fuck, so did someone put hot sauce?
But
hot sauce into
Someone
your food?
someone injected hot sauce into the chips I was eating.
Why?
Well, no, Steve. Well, no, Steve.
Because her brother's been
Steve.
planning revenge for a while.
Well, no, Steve. They weren't part of the. No, Steve. They weren't part of the design of the capital ships the carriers were based on. That's what I was saying. The finalized designs for the Amagis and Tosas did not include 8-inch guns. They were something that were added to the conversions when they were begun. That's what I've been saying. Just making that clear. That's what I'm saying. The 8-inch guns were not part of the battleships and battlecruisers as originally designed. And the ones they laid down. They worked through some design studies, as you say, but the designs they laid down were not going to carry 8-inch guns in casemates. They were going to carry 5.5-inch guns.
Yeah, basically the same as what Hood ended up with.
Steve, the galleries were built for the 5.5-inch guns. The Amagis and Tosas were not going to carry 8-inch guns. That's
No, because the thing is, you have to remember that
you're not going to carry an 8-inch gun on a secondary on a capital ship which is carrying 15, 16-inch guns because it just doesn't make sense. It's not going to give you enough of a fire differential with your main gun.
Yep.
Knight. I just need to correct something because I've been told that I'm wrong, and I'm gonna ask for source on that.
Whoever said that is very brave of you, Runon.
Because buying 2 as development examples is not the same as buying a full-blown battle cruiser.
Well, it's probably going to be pretty. It's probably going to cost the same.
It's still a question of would Congress give you money?
This is the English Electric Canberra, which the United States Air Force, going off the wiki page here, bought 2 to help them develop the B-57, versus my statement that the U.S. really does not like to order ships from foreign yards.
Oh no, that's a completely different thing. It's kind of like, in a nice way, look at the Royal Navy. There was even a big fuss when the Royal Navy ordered RFAs from a foreign yard, let alone warships.
Yeah.
Countries get really fussy about ordering warships from foreign countries. Aircraft, for some reason, get escaped. The Americans have ordered British aircraft. The British have ordered, of course, a huge amount of American aircraft.
Yeah.
The Americans have, in nicest way, at one point, I think NASA was flying more British aircraft than they were American aircraft.
They still are. They still have They still have B-57s to this day, even though they are American versions of Canberra. They still are a Canberra at heart. But again, Steve. Steve, it's important to bear in mind just how heavily reconstructed the carrier conversions of Washington are. Just because the 8-inch guns wouldn't fit in the 5.5-inch galleries as built on the ships when the conversion began, given the scale of the work committed to Akagi and Kaga, it is entirely unsurprising that they fitted 8-inch guns in.
That's what I would do. I think you're.
Yeah, we can move.
But I'm going to move on. Yeah, I'm going to move on.
In Steve's defense, in Steve's defense, I think possibly there was a slight muddle with the point at the beginning, but I think that's been cleared up by now, and I think we should move on.
So that was the next question is to the gunnery officer. Thoughts on the future replacement IFV for the Bradley, the XM30? Do you think it's not going to be as good as the Puma IFV and the Ajax IFV? Do you think the Ajax is the best NATO IFV? No. Ajax isn't even as good as Bradley, as it stands. The latest version of Bradley.
I would say at the moment that if I was starting a from scratch program and I had a blank budget, the one I'd be buying is the CV90 series. Because I could build my entire armored force around that chassis and that system, and then expand out from there after I got experience and developed the whole system. I
mean, yeah.
The Ajax is a. You have to remember the British government went through a period when their honest procurement criteria was anything but BAE. Which was the most stupid and horrendous thing you could have, but it was based on the thing of we've been too parochial and we spent too much time buying British equipment, which only a British government could ever feel. Admittedly, BAE probably didn't help themselves because they hadn't always delivered perfectly on time, and they'd accepted the blame for it rather than necessarily pushing back at the politicians and going, well, you did keep changing the criteria every 5 minutes on us, so it does kind of make it difficult for us to deliver on time to budget if you change the criteria every 5 minutes.
Yeah, this keeps happening on a shockingly regular basis. But yeah,
good luck getting the politicians to admit that they might have mucked it up, though.
Yeah, if we want to talk about NATO IFVs, I think it goes Bradley. Probably a joint first, depending on what you want from your IFV, between Bradley for a more general purpose IFV and CV90 for a fire support asset. So CV90, because Bradley has more utility in terms of, because obviously CV90 doesn't usually carry. I forget. It depends on the version. For a problem with CV90 is there's so many of them. With Bradley, you have the latest
CV90
version
is
of Bradley.
such an adaptable platform. It's basically the CV90. Just you sit there and go, okay, so what CV90 do I want?
And don't forget, the problem with Bradley right now is that 25 Bushmaster is a little anemic by now.
I mean, it
You
is.
you would choose a CV90 if you have the option over a Bradley at the current moment.
Probably.
Let's
But I
just
will
say
say Bradley's a
CV90
close
It will
second.
still mount most of
A
the same
CV90, you have a choice of a 40mm Bofors, a 35mm Bushmaster, a 30mm Bushmaster, a 105mm or 120mm cannon, or 120mm mortar.
Yeah,
And that's just the direct fire variants.
Although
There's
I will-
also variants which have all sorts of other things
yeah,
added
I
on.
will point out that the 105 and the 120 are light tanks or light tank equivalents rather than IFVs. I think they trade their ability to carry infantry to carry those guns.
Well, gunnery officer, yes, the
But
25 will still
Yes,
push
but
back
you're,
any
but
NPC,
logistically, in nicest way, they're lovely.
Oh no, I'm aware, but I just want to make it clear we're talking about IFVs here rather than
Well, the thing is, that is part of what you're doing when you're buying a modern IFE. You're buying an entire support unit. What's your heavy support? What's your heavy support company going to be using? What's your logistics company going to be using? What's your command company going to be using? What are your various units in your own unit are going to be using? And if you can have them all using the same system or the same chassis, logistically, that makes your life a lot easier.
Yes.
So, the problem with the 25 mil is that it's a little bit too
sides.
small to mount a lot of the new modern electronic variable fuse, all that kind of stuff, while carrying enough explosive fillage to be effective. That's why the entire reason why XM30 is looking at bigger guns than a 25, and this is why Bradley is still firing mostly relatively dumb ammo with no programmable fuse or whatsoever.
What I have to say is the new one with the what's it called?
50mm?
Saab's RB65. No,
Yeah.
RB56, isn't it? RB56, RBS56. Their anti-tank missile, which has been in service since 1988. The thing which, how do I put this politely? That was in service with Sweden from 1999 to 2013, and has returned to service in December 2021 after an upgrade.
Right.
And we can all imagine, why did this return to service in 2021?
Yeah.
Oh dear, good lord, I think I'm coming down with
Somebody
something.
made an oops.
Alright, shall I move on to the next question?
Yes, so that was gunnery officer's question.
Gunnery officers.
Question 12. So next is a use your question. Ugh, good lord, I think I'm coming down with something. Ugh.
Blow your nose.
I have done.
Blow it again.
Stephen Richards asks, better looking class of ship, King George V of World War One or World War Two? Tie. Tie.
Honestly, no. It's World War II ones look better than the
I-
World War One ones.
I think I tend to lead to World War II as well.
The World War One ones, don't take this the wrong way. They really look like, in nicest way. The dreadnoughts of that period do not look necessary. They look functional. They have a beautiful form of function. But no, if you want good-looking ships, you're looking at the battle cruisers.
I actually do slightly disagree. I actually really do like the look of most of the dreadnoughts of this era, especially the British ones. But it is the World War II's much more. It almost feels more battlecruiser-esque. It's got the much more sleek lines, more well-designed areas, and also one of the main things I actually enjoy it more is I prefer the superstructure on this World War II one. The superstructure in World War II actually just looks much nicer, I find.
My opinion generally is just the Q turret gets in the way.
I don't mind Q turret, honestly. I understand it's not necessarily the most efficient to have it, but it does work.
Well, I'm just mostly talking look-wise. I don't like the I don't like the Q turrets just being there. I'd rather it have like some sort of superstructure and then put another funnel there, which basically means.
Admittedly, I would probably
British battle
personally
cruisers.
have a third turret at the rear instead of a midship. But I'm the weird person who does like 243F designs.
Yeah. I also have no quarrel with 342F.
So the next question is from Prime Narwhal, who says, "What is your thoughts on potentially if you were in charge of the French and Italians from Washington Naval Treaty to World War II? How would you choose to build them up?" Well, in terms of cruisers, destroyers, for both sides, I'm probably not going to change too much. I think both are building what they think they need for Mediterranean operations, and I don't think there's any real need to change that. What I am going to change is when it comes to carriers and capital ships. So, first change, I am going to complete Bern as a Normandy. I am going to finish her as the only Normandy-class battleship to enter service and commission. And we'll scrape together whatever money we need to do that. I will then probably build a pair of light purpose-built carriers, probably about 12, 13,000 ton ships, just to experiment with operating aircraft. Basically, given the fact that, to be perfectly blunt with you, even a single one of those ships will probably be a better carrier than Bern, and will probably be able to operate with a cruiser force, given it'll have a speed faster than an iceberg in a following wind.
Well, hang on. If you finish
Being rude about icebergs!
If you finish Bern as a battleship, do you have to scrap something else? Because
no, the French were never actually. The French and the Italians had early replacement windows. And to be blunt, if what I'm scrapping is a bunch of some of my pre-dreadnoughts, which I've kept, I am not complaining in any way, shape or form. It also gives me something to wag at the Italians and go, you're not the only ones with modern-ish battleships now. And then, of course, as the Italians, I'm going to look at Francesco Carachuelo and go, we're going to hold on to that hull. And we're going to hold on to that hull until my French, start building the
aircraft carriers?
Yes, the aircraft carriers, probably in the early 20s. I'm going to go, oh, look, the French are building aircraft carriers. I guess we just have to find the money, don't we, Italian government, to actually build the Francesco Carachuelo as an aircraft carrier. I guess we just.
The bigger argument is going to be with the Air Ministry, but you know that's fun. Have fun with Mussolini.
Yeah, well, I'm going to point out that if we have...
You do like to have fun with Mussolini, don't you?
Yeah, well, yes, because I'm going to stoke his ego and say, yeah, the French are building a pair of small carriers. How awesome would it be if the Italians build this incredibly powerful converted aircraft carrier that is just bigger than both of theirs put together and more powerful than both of theirs put together? And won't that be a real symbol of might if we can beat the French on having bigger and better carriers, despite being the newer naval power than they are, and technically, supposedly, the inferior naval power? Wouldn't that just be a massive achievement for the state, and for your own image? Because if there's one thing dictators love more than anything else, it's stroking their own image. That's how you sell it. That's how you sell it.
I thought it was something else getting stroked, but yeah, go on.
But no, you can see what I've done there. So we'll get her as a carrier.
I thought what they liked. I thought it was obvious what they liked stroked from their own name, but you know.
And then that's really the only real change. that's the only real change until we get to.
I knew Foxtel would get that.
The only thing I'm then going to change is I'm then going to look for when because obviously the Italians go in for the rebuilds rather than new builds. I am instead going to go in for new build ships. So I'm going to look to... The reason that I'm going to do this is because having looked at the rebuilds, while they are very, very, very good, it takes a while. It costs a fair bit to do. And I'm thinking, if I've got Francesco Carachuelo running around at 30+ knots, there is an argument to be made for at least replacing the Cavors with a 30+ knot capital ship in 33. Simply down to the fact that because 33 is when the rebuilds begin. So instead of beginning the rebuild, I'm going to look, okay, let's see if we can get... I'm probably thinking, if I'm looking at the Dunkirks, I'm probably gonna go. Can we get? Obviously, they have their 13-inch guns. Can we get a ship with 9? So basically, sort of think mini Littorios for the first pair. So kind of 12, either 12.6 or 13-inch guns of our own. But really focusing on the speed. So looking to push about 32 knots. And you might also... I might rebuild... I may rebuild the Andrea Dorians because they are newer. But it probably won't be as extreme a rebuild. Because I don't want to use up the dockyard space for too long because I want to lay down the Littorios more quickly. Because
what would be the Italian gun option at the time?
Like I say, it would probably be the same as historical, so it would either be 12-inch guns bored out to 12.6, or it would be a new 12 or 13-inch gun.
What about 14?
The reason that I'm sticking with that is that in order for me to sell the idea of new ships rather than conversions, I am trying to match the Dunkirks with a ship that is faster, which is basically because the Dunkirks, if you'll recall, are, what are they, 26, 27 knot ships? I think. I mean, they're in this weird. Sorry, the 28 knot ships, because they're designed to catch the.
They are fast battleships.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go and look. I want something that can escort our carriers, which are carrier.
They're 29.5 knot ships officially.
Yeah.
Hang on. So when would you be starting this build?
So instead of
33?
rebuilding the Conte de Cavours in 1933, because remember that was started due to the French laying down the Dunkirks. So my response would be, if the French are laying down the Dunkirks, I'm going to lay down something new. Probably a pair of ships.
And you might want to go for 15-inch guns, because you'll have them, whereas the French are still mucking around. And
Yeah, because I'm looking at it.
The French can do something with 8 13-inch guns. If you've got something with 6 15-inch guns, you're already ahead.
Problem is, do I really want to bring the Although, that being said, if I bring the Italian 15-inch into service that early, we might be able to fix the problems with them.
Yeah.
And it's not even that much earlier.
Which would make...
like...
Well, no, it's enough peacetime service to actually... Because the thing is, it takes 5 years to do the rebuilds. The thing is, the rebuilds were cheap on the budget year on year, but they took longer than building a new ship. That's the thing. They were more expensive than building a new ship, but on the yearly budget for the Italian Navy, they were cheaper because they were spread out over a 5-year period.
It's a standard politician money political trick. You spend less to spend more.
If I'm building a pair of new ships, possibly a pair of almost battle cruisers, if you like, but definitely at least battle cruiser one word, probably full-on fast battleships.
Well, that's what the Dunkirks were, and they only had 8 13-inch guns. So if you have 6 15-inch guns, as long as they're all forward,
this is really early .10.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then of course
Are you having fun, Runon?
They'll probably come out. So probably 1936, late 35, mid to the middle of 36 is when I reckon the build times would finish, which is earlier. Which means I can also then bring in the Dulios because I am going to rebuild the Dulios, because A, they're slightly newer ships, and B, I do want to save some money after spending a little bit more building a pair of new ships.
And you don't want to excuse me of having the Curse of Taranto.
Exactly.
So that ship, no matter what you do, survives.
Exactly. So the thing is, I'm going to do that. And what that means then is it means that we have at least a pair of fast capital ships to escort Francesco Caracciuelo in her role as Italy's fleet carrier. While in the gap between the laying down of the Littorios and the building of the I suppose I suppose the ships that I've just built would be the Littorios, and the ships that follow them would probably be Roma, Impero. Would probably be called the Roma class, but what we know is the Littorios. But the first two Littorio names would go to the two ships that I've just built. In the gap between the Littorios and the Romas...
Yeah, you're basically going to stick with them, but the trouble is going to be you on a strategic level is how do other nations respond to these changes?
Oh, no, completely. And there will be absolutely changes. Like, for example, the French could drag in, and in fact, I probably will, once I realise what... I know I'm playing both sides here. I would drag in, as I'm developing the guns for the Richelieurs, I'm dragging in Bern to trade her quadruple 13.4-inch guns for triple 15s. Almost as a trial for the guns of the Richelieurs.
The Littorios were laid down 34. Do you have the dockyard and time to refit the Dorias?
Well, yeah, because it was done historically.
If you do this,
Because he does the Dorias, basically he's doing the Dorias instead of the first pair.
Remember, it all takes up dockyard space. There's a reason why Roma and Impero aren't laid, well, because they had two dockyards building the Littorios. And the other two that were refitting the battleships, I'm using to build new battleships because the refits aren't taking place.
Would they be big enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because bear in mind, they have to stretch the hulls of the older ships. And once they are stretched, it's, yeah, the stretchiness. It's, yeah, so basically, I'm basically buying myself another pair of fast capital ships. And because I'm building them much, and the reason that they'll be in service faster is because I'm aiming for a pair of 30 to 35,000 ton battleships, if not smaller.
All right.
Because I'm basically building a pair of fast carrier escorts. Like the Littorios are the ships that I'm going to build to slug it out with the RN in the Mediterranean. The Littorios are the ships I'm building to make sure that Francesco Carachuelo doesn't get dropped on by RN cruisers while she's operating in support of the battle line. The Romas, which are what we'll call the Littorios, are the ships I'm building to politely knock on the door of the Royal Navy with 15-inch shells.
Yeah, to be fair, the smaller Littorios might actually be enough to chase away Renown.
Oh no, they absolutely would be. Like that's 9. They have the same armor as Renown, but they've just got better guns and they're more modern ships with better armor.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, how are the British going to react to that?
Oh yeah,
because if the Italians have this earlier, that's going to change the British approach to what capital ships they're procuring and what their deployments are going to be.
Oh yeah, like I absolutely expect the British will. I absolutely have no doubt that we're looking at the British going, okay, the Italians have a carrier, they have an extra pair of fast capital units that are pretty much, or not quite flat counters, but they're more than an even match for Renown and Repulse, which means that that is a problem.
And they're probably, if they're fast battleships, they might have 6 15-inch guns, but they match in against Hood.
Yeah. And at that point, and then they're also looking at the Littorios coming along and going, oh, those are coming, and they still have they have a pair of slow battleships that they can use for convoy escort and second line duty.
You know the nation that could find itself really mucked up in this scenario.
Oh yeah, Germany.
If you got the French and the Italians doing this that amount of production, yeah, Germany's going to be going.
And of course, you know what you'll also have is you'll have me going. So guys, yep. You know how we're fighting the Germans, yep. And you know how the French government basically surrendered? Yep. Yeah, no. Come with me, lads. We're going to Alexandria. Come on. Everybody on the boats. Come on, let's go. So Bern plus the 2 light aircraft carriers, plus the Richelieu and Jean Bar, because we'll tow Jean Bar out of Toulon if need be. Plus Dunkirk and Strasbourg. Basically, everyone we're told, go to British bases we're fighting on, and bring as many of your families with you as you can. Because if we leave them behind, they're just going to be, well, you know, we know what the Germans do to people's families who are left behind.
They're such nice people.
Indeed.
But yeah, so that basically means, because by that point, Bern will have her 9 15-inch guns, and probably an improved fire control fit, so she matches up quite... She's basically, especially since I will have built her with turbines entirely, she'll be basically... Like, she and Warspite will be having lots of fun, rolling around the Mediterranean at 24 knots between them, laughing hysterically as they blow up things.
Potentially, but I think there's the fact is how do the other navies react, and how do the navies react to that? You know, the Italians having an aircraft carrier, that's going to mean the British are going to want at least 2 carriers in the Mediterranean in each force.
And that's also going to mean that when it comes to building Graf Zeppelin, the Germans are going to go, so we're building Graf Zeppelin, and the Italians are going to take one look at it, look at Caracciolo, which will probably be built fairly effectively, if a little bit off kilter, and go, they'll grab the plans. They'll do some Italian-style slapping of the face of whoever created it and say, no. You want to use your carrier as a raider, that's fine. But this catapult system and the way you're handling your landings, no. Stop.
Yeah.
Get some help.
It's basically... It's the combination of all the systems they pick. That's the thing, is individually those systems are not necessarily a bad idea. As a collective whole,
it also might mean that it also might mean the Italians, because we know the Germans do operate Italian aircraft if they're pushed to, either because it's what's available or if it's, you know, certain, you know, operational exigencies require it. If we're talking about the German carrier, if Goering won't release any aircraft from the Luftwaffe to form its squadrons, the Kriegsmarine just go, hey, Italy, we will pay you money and give you some funny stuff if you give us some aircraft. Just... God, good times. But I think we've actually hammered that question into the ground with a tuning fork. So
I would say, Stephen Richards, it does say on the tin that this is Fleet's random rambling.
Yeah.
The rambling
that
is
is
indeed continuous.
Yeah, that is the show is called Fleet's Random Ramblings. Like we say, we will answer your questions when we will
eventually.
Yeah, and good answers guaranteed. Good answers, not so much. You'll get an answer, but it may not be the one you were expecting.
And
or
you'll
on
get
the
another
day
answer.
that you would
Another
hope
answer.
you
And
to
another
get the
answer.
Yep. So
It's just like fucking delivery services, where it's like,
It's
okay,
like a
yeah, we're
simulator.
gonna deliver this on this
by
day.
the
And
way,
they're like, oh no, there's been
by the
delay.
way, Guy, I want to do a ramblings on the Dutch Navy, basically as a dress rehearsal for Armchair Admirals, because I want to know what the Dutch did before I go on Armchair Admirals, and you are the Dutchman! So, yeah.
That's his plan for next week. Do a lot of preparation.
Yep.
Because, as we all know, that Armchair Admiral is important. If he turns up on time, by the rules of the Bro Code, the boop nickname goes away
And
because
of course,
he will have been on time.
The more I turn up to Armchair, especially because the first time I thought I wasn't sure if the first time was a one-off. Now that I know they just expect me to be there, I will just now show up on time because I wasn't sure.
Yes.
But very.
What are you playing?
Yeah.
Spyfall, why does that look like a turbo laser tower?
So, next question is from Timu Locker. How many cans of fine cider does Dear Fleet need for the ramblings? I don't drink during ramblings anymore. I haven't drunk during ramblings for ages because I prefer my mind nice and sharp when I'm answering questions.
Your mind's
And every time you did do that, it was an absolute mess.
Mind sharp. Oxymoron. Pick one.
Sure. So the next question is, so it would be the next gunnery officer question, because that would then mean that, come on, War Thunder's not War Thunder.
War Thunder. What were you just saying about? Sorry, Fleet, what were you just saying about Mine Sharp?
Just let me. So that was
Mine Sharp, head empty.
Okay, so that was. Hang on.
I'm still getting over the shock of the sharp mind thing. It's gonna take me a while.
Yeah. So that was.
Why are they still going
so that
further with
was
these ideas?
Okay, so that was Prime Normal's question. So it would be, how, your typical gunnery officer, how would the Sea Sparrow fare in the Falklands War on RN guided missile ships, especially against Exocet and fast jets with bombs? Do you think Sea Slug would still do the job and do it better than Rim 7? No, Sea Slug is, if we're talking about the confined waters that the RN finds itself in...
Seawolf versus Sea Sparrow, that's what you'd be really talking about. And honestly, neither of them would have really designed for the Falklands War campaign. Because all of them are the trouble is the missiles are fundamentally designed for fighting the Cold War in the open North Atlantic, not enclosed into the fjords.
Yeah, or just
in Norway.
Yeah, or just open waters generally.
Or St. Carlos Bay.
Yeah, they're just... Like, when you're in that environment, you need point defense. And that either means missiles designed specifically for point defense in any area at all times, which they didn't have, or rapid-fire autocannon or rotary cannon.
To be fair, no, it's not the missiles which are necessarily the problem for either Sea Sparrow or them, it's the sensors. In a nice way, the amount of clutter you have in that area. And how you deal with that clutter. That's the problem. And, you know, all these systems, people like to bring them up as different options and go, well, they could have had this system and this system. And you go, well, they could have, yes. The problem is that system doesn't exist with the sensors to support that system don't exist. This is one of the reasons why most of us tend to sort of go, well, if they had the old believe it or not, the old radars guided guns, the radars on them would actually have done better than the missile systems, because the radar guided guns, the dumber systems, were actually better for dealing with things like that area, because they were dumb enough you could overrule them.
Stephen Richards asks on YouTube. I've skipped Montana's question, but I'll answer this one quickly, and then I'll answer Montana's immediately afterwards, because this one's really easy to answer. Stephen Richards asks, what corner are you in? Bismarck sunk by the RN or scuttled by a crew? It's not... There is no discussion. There is no discussion. Bismarck was sunk by the RN. There is not a discussion. Anyone who tells you there is either trying to push a narrative or is flat out lying. There is no discussion. Bismarck was sunk by the Royal Navy. It is that simple. End of story. There is no discussion.
It's basically a case of at the point at which if anyone on the Bismarck crew did anything, they weren't changing the end. They were just going, "Ow, let's accelerate it so we can try and claim some of the credit." And you go, yeah. But the trouble is that the command structure they're talking to, they'd basically claiming instructed it, had disintegrated by that point, and we know the command structure disintegrated. Unless the officers are, some of the junior officers are acting on entirely their own cognizance, which they are all claiming they didn't do, the senior officers they are referencing and saying we're not in the places where they're supposed to be to have given those orders. And Drac does an excellent timeline of this. But, you know, we've all worked through the timeline and gone, it doesn't really match up. Yes, there is quite a possibility that some of them might have decided to try and set off charges, etc. But by that point, she was already a hulking mess and already sinking and going down. It's the case of, oh, well, there's already 100 or so holes which are leaking water. I'm going to blow another one so that she sinks more quickly.
Mm-hmm. So, very quickly, the last question on Stream Q&A log is USS Montana asking, what if the Germans had lithium-ion batteries on their submarines in World War I and World War II? A flat increase in underwater performance is the very, very simple answer to that.
A lot of kabooms.
Yeah.
Lithium-ion really does not like water.
No.
Essentially, okay, if you take the question in the best light, it means that they have a much shorter recharge time with a much more power available, or a much higher underwater speed. And they can also get longer underwater endurance. If they just have lithium-ion batteries, congratulations. You don't have to deal with hydrogen gas anymore, but you also have a fire source that you can't put out.
Yeah, and if it leaks in any way, shape, or form, that fire source can start. So, it's just... life is just easier not to.
Anytime you want to take over development of this, you're more than welcome to. And as far as it getting sucked into stream Q&A log, I think I know what's going on with that. Maybe I do. Yes, he hasn't hit the next button. He's on a, remember, he's on a very early build of .10.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is how much, which I didn't even realize. So thank you, Fleet. This is actually a nice little ego boost for me. Over the course of the last 2.5 months, this is how much Powder Monkey has improved. A lot. And I'm working on forking .14 right now so that Fleet can have .14 for Friday or Monday or whenever he wants to use it.
It'll be Monday. Friday is stored questions.
Probably be in 5 months if we assume that he takes twice as long.
Don't even. How would is there a way to clear out the entire queue, Ruinon, so Dragon can see it and record them?
That is the last one.
That is the last one.
Dragon for next Monday. If you look in the PDA server, there's a channel called Archive Monkey. I'm going to add you in it.
Right.
That is just going to be the raw input.
Right. Roger.
No delay, no nothing. Just that's what we fell back to on yesterday, because .14.
I think I've been doing pretty well.
Less than
getting
stellar
questions.
Ain't nobody gonna replace Dragon.
Oh no, but isn't that the point of the system?
No, because we need Dragon in case everything goes wrong. Because also, again, nobody can replace Dragon. Dragon is just better than...
backup system.
Dragon is just... Look, to be blunt...
This might have to happen regardless.
To be blunt, I'm just going to point out. Drac still relies on Fleet. Drac will probably always rely on Fleet. Even when Fleet has his own YouTube channel and is probably equal to Drac in terms of size. If that ever happens, Drac will probably still rely on Fleet. I don't mind. Oh, by the way, I don't mind. I don't mind that Drac relies on Fleet to get questions. I don't mind. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I'm not sure. Drac's been looking around certain things lately, so
Hey,
maybe not. He might be thinking about having some fun. Oh, but I have. I do warn Runon that if that happens, then in the nicest way, Runon's life gets taken over by Powder Monkey. The next
As I have
billionaire
said,
is Runon.
billion times before. I do not want to be paid for this on like a give me $50 and I'll fork it for you sense, because then I have to support it.
No, you don't.
Tips. Okay, I'm weird, all right?
No,
I'm
really,
very weird.
Or what you say is, you pay me 1 fee and you get this one version of Powder Monkey.
Yes, but the problem is I'm too nice. I'm not that Machiavellian.
I will point out, Ruinon, there is one problem with this logic. You support it anyway, and you will continue to support it anyway, because that's just what you do and have continued to do. So to be perfectly blunt,
yes,
and
but I'm doing it because I want to, not because I feel obligated to do it.
Well, if you want to do it anyway, and the only users of Powder Monkey are us, who are more than happy to help support you financially, those of us who can, would it not be wise to take advantage of that? You don't have to roll it out to everybody, but if people want to help, like Dr. Clark wants to help, like Drac will probably want to help, and we can keep it informal, is that not a good thing? And obviously when I get some more money, I'll want to help as well.
But then it feels like an obligation.
I think all we say is this. At a certain point, we will persuade Runon to set up a Patreon for people to support the Powder Monkey, which underpins our channels. You know,
reasonable.
And basically, the money will be towards. Basically, say the money's towards the Iron Brew, which Runon needs to consume to write it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is very
After all,
true.
don't we? Powder Monkey is powered by a fusion reactor, which is fueled entirely by Iron Brew.
Fusion reactor.
Talk about nuclear fusion reactor.
So very quickly, so the next question is a Discord question. Yippee-ki-yay. Where's my MacGuffin McMuffin? Come on, Discord, don't be funny with me. You are being funny with me, you cheeky little. So that would be.
At least you're not having to deal with what I'm dealing with, Fleet. Of genius naval designers trying to make my brain break.
Honestly, like I am half tempted just to wade in, just to take the pressure off you, because I will just
help.
Oh no, you have no idea what I'm capable of when it comes to this sort
They'll
of
just
thing.
ignore you.
Yeah.
Well, Dragon, don't forget you have power. Put your foot down. Honestly,
Why do we need 30? Why would you need 32 12-inch guns?
Honestly, Dragon, at that point, put your foot down. These things are getting aggressively silly. Put your foot down.
What?
I already have.
Where's this?
Look.
In a nation RP, I am now having to moderate. Someone had the bright idea. Well, what if we take Agincourt and stick another turret on it?
Yeah, we
Okay,
just
right. Annoying, but workable. Then, but what if we upgrade? What if we massively widen the ship and use it as a floating gun battery with quad 12-inch turrets?
Just
and 8 of them.
Just no. Stop.
Where is this question?
Thankfully,
I wish you see
it's
this
not
question.
a question.
It's a question I've been asked verbally on another Discord.
Yeah, moving swiftly on. Brandon Larson asks, question for Dragon specifically. You were in charge of the Fel Empire during the Second Imperial Civil War. What is your overall strategy?
Second Imperial Civil War?
Yeah, the Second Imperial Civil War.
When the heck was that?
That's so
can I not be, the better empire, please?
Nope. Apparently you are the Fel Empire. You poor soul. You have my sympathy.
Because it's like, yeah.
Like,
well,
the Fel Empire is literally all of the excesses of Imperial rule with none of the benefits.
Cry.
Benefits?
Not quite true, but
fairly close.
It does actually have some of the best starfighters of the galaxy at the time. Primarily, we need to make sure Darth Krayt never gets to power. It's also the first time the Empire actually now, integrates Xenos as.
So, did you just say Darth Krayt?
Yes, as in Krayt dragons.
Ah, okay. I just imagine like a shipping container.
That would be more
Patchington, you know what you must do now.
No. No.
Do it,
Great into reality.
No.
Do it, I'll put you...
that reminds me. I'm sorry. I know it's politically inappropriate now, but I wish you could have all seen Trans Franco. That was just that was funny. That was funny. Spiteful Ghost of ABC, do you remember that one? That was funny. You remember Trans Franco, don't you? It's just so.
Primarily, we need to try and keep the Empire and get our hands on the actual chess.
Oh, Phoenix is here. I didn't even realize.
In particular, make use of the more advanced chess technology. Work with the former Empire of the Hand that are mostly being integrated by this point, but we can work with them. Make much more use of actual interdictors and see if basically we can capitalize on the fact that the galaxy has been damaged since the Jabong. In a brief nutshell, because otherwise this is a bit outside my area of Star Wars, but it's something I'd look into a bit more. That was the whole point of where Boba Fett once again made his reappearance. That's amusing.
He's still alive by that point?
Yes.
How?
He is the Mandalore, the leader of all Mandalorians.
How did he... No, but how is he still alive?
In 40 ABY?
Yes. He was already an old man at the Battle of Yavin.
What?
He'd only be 120, which in Star Wars terms is not that old.
There's a Bacta tank in nicest way, my friend.
Oh, I keep forgetting.
Also, what do you mean he is a old man at that point? He was born 32 BBY. He's in his 70s.
That's old.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes, no, maybe, probably
you're
not.
thinking too much in real life human age.
I wasn't even beyond that. Fleet, I have seen 70-year-olds who are terrifying.
Okay, so by the way, what
Do
are
not
what are the Mandalorians doing at this point? Are they doing neo-crusading nonsense again?
No, because that would get them killed.
Are they just sat in Mandalore saying, "Do not come and poke us"? I swear to God,
Basically.
poke us.
They're just twiddling their thumbs.
They're just being boring.
Yeah, so that's technically not the second Imperial Galactic Civil War then, Larson. That's actually a different one again. Or do you mean... Because I'm pretty sure the question mentioned Galactic, and not... Or the Imperial, not Galactic.
You did, it did.
Because there's the difference between the second Imperial Civil War and the second Galactic Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And also, even then, the Galactic Civil War itself ends in 41 ABY. So this is actually set much later.
Mm-hmm.
If it's during Rowan Fell. So... Well, so if you want to grab the next one, Fleet.
Yes, so the... So actually, my...
Yes, 27 through 127 through 130.
So my actual final question is not from YouTube or from Discord. It's not from Powder Monkey or from anyone else. The final question actually comes from me.
Cool.
And is actually
Brilliant.
directed to the audience. As we are now at the 70th Ramblings, I know it's not a special event, but we're well on our way to 100. And I'd just like to ask, how are you all enjoying Ramblings? Do you think there's anything
Do a 48-hour stream.
Do you think there's anything that can be improved on? Do you like the selection of guests do you like the selection of guests that we have?
I think you need to do about a 96-hour stream.
Please let me know in the just with general comments in Theatre at Sea's check chat if you're a Discord viewer, and if you are a YouTube viewer, please do let me know in the comments of the video when the live actually stops. What you think, what you enjoyed, what you don't enjoy, anything you think Fleet could do better, any guest you'd like to see on the show you'd like me to try and get. Would you like to see the Chieftain come back? Would you like to see Rex's Hangar? Would you like Drac to appear? Would you like to see the Mighty Jingles? Let me know and I'll try and see who I can get. Obviously within reason.
I forget. The one thing I like about Ramblings is the unbridled ability to rake Fleet over the coals. But two, was the Star Wars Commando storyline canonized, or was it thrown out by the Big Mouse? Republic Commando?
I don't know.
Because if I recall correctly, in that storyline, they did get a gene therapy that would slow, stop, or reverse the rapid aging of the clones. No, Rumsfeld. No. Dreaming. Keep huffing that copium, buddy. Keep huffing it as much as you have to.
It should be fun.
Right, so obviously I'm going to try and get. So obviously now that Rex's Hangar is back into video creation again, I'm going to try and get him back. I have a fairly good working relationship with Rex. I'd actually say we're pretty good friends. So I'm going to try and get Rex's Hangar back on Ramblings. Probably at some point this month, if not next month. And of course, get Drac back on for a Drac appearance. Although then again, knowing him, now that because I don't know if Drac listens to Ramblings at all, but if he does, he's going to hear me say this, and I'm literally going to be, I'll forget about it, and then literally 2 weeks from now, Drac will drop in like a thunderbolt out of the blue. Because that's what he does.
Yes. He's a good friend.
He is. Although to me, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I know Drac as well as I know you, Dr. Clark. So I'm not sure if I'm an acquaint. As also the whole, I work under him as one of his members of staff. So I'm not sure if I'm like, am I an acquaintance?
To be fair, you learn a lot about someone when you're sharing a roof with them. And debating the finer points of battleship design.
Yeah, that's very true.
Sal, my clearance has yet to be revoked. I would like to keep it that way.
Yes.
And I think threatening to beat a former Secretary of Defense over the head with a wiffle ball bat in Minecraft would probably put me at the top of the list. And the current administration is going on a bit of a tear when it comes to revoking clearances right now, so, you know.
I just hear more reasons to drag you to the UK.
Yes, I do also agree with that. Come to the country that doesn't.
You will enjoy the misty isles that are always wet and full of mold.
I mean,
you get to
right
enjoy
now,
British electrical
Downing
problems
Street
and
still acknowledges my existence, so, you know.
So,
to be fair,
come to
most
the UK. The UK has.
Most of us do not acknowledge Downing Street's existence, so it's always good.
Right, so, thank you everyone for coming. Now, as has been the case for the last 4 ramblings now, as per usual, I will now do something funny. So, but first things first, let me just sound off for the YouTube audience.
That's a fair point, Steve. We can actually give Runon a proper, 1901 Iron Brew.
For the YouTube audience. So, take care, YouTube audience. Thank you for joining me for these 3 hours. For those of you who are enjoyers of my Rule the Waves games, join me for probably the last episode of the Ottoman Empire series, as we round out and finish off the Tale of the Ottoman Empire tomorrow, and I'll hopefully see you all for that. And for those of you who aren't, I will probably see you all on Wednesday, for the Fleet Fumbles Railroader, which seems to be getting more and more popular every episode that we have. So take care, everyone, and I'll catch you all next time. And I don't say this often enough, but as it's the 70th, I will.
Have you literally named something Fleet Fumble something?
Yes, it's the Wednesday video.
So you like fumbling with railway workers? Is that what you're saying?
Dr. Clark, please.
Oh,
Dr. Clark, please. I'm trying to say something.
Trying to get my head round this.
His naming scheme once again is quite on point.
Can I? Thank you.
No.
Anyway,
You cannot.
So
Your right has now been cancelled.
I will mute all of you.
Yeah, but we can unmute ourselves.
So very quickly. I don't say it often enough because I don't like to be pushy, but please, please, please recommend the channel if you think it's good to any of your friends who you think will enjoy it. Please subscribe if you aren't subscribed. If you have a bit of money going spare and you can throw some change my way, please support me on Patreon. Leave a like if you like it, and leave a comment if you want to comment. But of course, again, like I say, I want comments on this video.